Yep.
You're good, you guys.
Okay, welcome to council meeting. First we have our organizational meeting tonight. We'll call this meeting to order. First off is we need an appointment of deputy mayor. And that's gonna be, we've talked about that in our committee meetings, and that's gonna be Councillor Ken Hagee. So we need a motion for Ken Hagee to be the deputy mayor.
I'll move Ken Hagee's deputy mayor.
Councillor Harker moves that. Any discussion? All in favor?
You know what that means, John?
Okay, good.
Next.
Committee appointments, we're gonna go into this first. Welcome here. So with the passing of Councillor Price, we need to do a few changes. So he's on 4 committees. First is the ICF. There's already Bryce, myself, Stuart, and Ralph.
So, I think this individual will be an alternate, so that we have the same kind of 3 attending as much as possible for continuity, because the county only has 3 members.
It makes sense. So we need an alternate there. Anybody want to volunteer?
Is that daytime?
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah, I can volunteer to be the alternate, because I'm around during the day.
Okay, Councillor Harker, anyone else? Councillor Hagee's not here to represent himself, but he's usually busy during the day.
I mean,
Councillor Fromm, you interested in that too, or you?
No,
if you're dying to do it,
Defer to John,
write
go
it
ahead.
because
Okay.
I'm just the alternate.
Okay, we'll mark that down then as the alternate will be Councillor Harker. The Inter-Municipal Development Plan Committee, that's basically the same thing.
Same thing, isn't it?
yeah, and that committee typically won't meet unless there is an issue to be discussed. The Inter-Municipal Development Plan was just recently renewed and passed as part of the ICF Inter-Municipal Development Plan process, so that's a committee for the sake of it being there if something arises, but it probably won't have much to do.
Okay, do you want to be on that, Councillor Fromm?
Sure.
Okay, we'll put Councillor Fromm there. Welcome here.
Am I on that committee, Curtis?
The Joint Fire Services Committee, we already put Councillor Fromm on there. Do we need 3 there, or can we just not have Councillor Price? Just have the 2. Councillor Computers, do you have any
Joint fire, is that what you're referring to?
joint
Oh,
fire?
Joint
the
fire.
county has
It's a
3,
3,
So we need 3.
I would say so.
yeah.
Anybody have a desire to be on that one?
We meet quarterly, 8:30 in the morning it's always a Monday. And we're usually done, half hour or 45 minutes, typically we're usually done.
Okay, well, I could be on that, I guess, if it's hard for anyone else to get there at 8:30. Want to put my name down there? And then we don't have it on here in this schedule, but the Sugar City Development Corporation. Ralph was on that committee. Does anybody have a desire to be on there? We have Councillor Fromm, I think is the other one.
I would.
Okay, Councillor Computers. We haven't represented Councillor Hagee very well. What was your count last, Councillor Fromm, when you did that?
Oh,
He's got all the numbers down.
Got the numbers.
He's the numbers guy.
You know, when we gave you that paper.
oh, I gave that to you.
Want to go grab it?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I think Councillor Hagee was a little bit underused.
Oh, he was?
I was the least used, then him, and then I think Joan and Bryce were next, and then you, and then Councillor Foss.
Okay. Is that okay if we go with Councillor Hagee on that one?
Sure.
Okay, let's put him there, and then if he has any objections, I guess we'll come back and change that another time. Okay, is that all of them? Have I seen them Have I made any mistakes?
The audit committee, I don't think you addressed.
No, I think I missed that one, that's right. The audit committee,
And
okay,
Kate was on that.
someone needs someone else there?
So that's Stuart and me, and we need another.
I wouldn't mind being there. I went to a few of the meetings anyway, because some of those things are important, and the mayor does need to know what's going on with the finances, so. Everybody okay if I go to that one?
Absolutely.
Okay, but Ron, you'll be the chair?
Yes.
Okay. You gotta,
I do. Could you, now, just going back to the Sugar City Development Corporation, I think Bryce has got some expertise that might be valuable to that committee.
is that a Ken?
Yeah, could we make that switch?
Sure.
Anybody opposed to that? Bryce, would you be opposed to that?
No, that'd be fine.
Okay, we'll go back to that, that's fine. I was just trying to help
Having
Councilor
developed,
Hagee have some, but,
you know, a few houses and properties, I think it might help there.
okay. We'll change that one back. Okay, anyone else see anything else we need to go over?
If Councillor Hagee wants to be on the Joint Fire Services Committee, I would stand down from that and give
What's
him
in-
that. So.
I think he said his schedule, that was it, that was
Oh,
one he couldn't take.
That's a daytime one, okay, thank you, never mind.
Okay, let's move to point number 3, the confirmation of council meeting schedule.
So, Mayor DePew, if we could just get a motion accepting the organizational.
I thought that's what was at the bottom, number 6.
Okay, I apologize.
Okay. Yeah, I wondered about that too, because you had that there. I wondered if it was out of place. Okay, number 3, the confirmation of council meeting schedule. So that's the first and third Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. Have a motion there from someone?
I'll make that, I think we're all comfortable with that, aren't we, after 3 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
Councillor Fawn makes that motion. All in favor? Okay, the confirmation of committee meeting schedule. So the 2nd and 4th.
I'll move that committee meeting schedule.
Councillor Harker moves that. All in favor? Okay,
I think if we tried to go to 2 meetings a month, we would just end up going to 11 o'clock
I
every
bet we would,
single
every single time.
week.
and we,
I just don't think that's worth it.
I
To me,
agree.
it's not, because it's just not worth it. So,
okay, number 5, the confirmation of the MPC schedule. That's the 2nd and 4th Tuesday.
I'll move that too.
Councillor Fawn moves. All in favor? And then number 6, the confirmation of the board and committee appointments, which we just went over.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Foss
Approve
makes
that.
that motion. All in favor? Okay, now we need a motion for adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
Councillor Harker makes that motion. All in favor? Okay, that was easy. That's because we've done our homework, right?
Yeah, and I think that's good that we've got Councillor Hagee as deputy mayor, that'll be a good thing too. Good meeting, gee,
Everybody can go home now.
Yeah,
Accomplished so much.
that's slick.
Okay, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 people in the gallery. For those that are not here, we have Ann and Inga, we have Mrs. Foss, we have Mrs. Fleming. I'm not sure back there. Oh, that's Williams, Mr. Williams and Mr. Haas. And we have Cora, and we have another person, I'm sorry, we have Holland here too. And I'm not sure about the other one.
This is Nathaniel.
Nathaniel, is that your son?
Your son.
Oh. And we also have
Shanita Sims.
Shanita Sims here, so just so you know who's in the gallery. So we welcome everyone here. We'll call this meeting to order for the town council. We have agenda in front of us. Does anybody have any additions or deletions from the agenda you want to talk about or bring up? I was gonna bring up the Remembrance Day, and you've got it on here, so I don't have to bring that one.
Move the agenda.
Counselor Fromm moves the agenda, and all in favor? Okay. 2.1, the 2020 Remembrance Day Ceremony. Curtis.
I think that's just a motion to approve the agenda. We'll go on with the delegations. Remembrance Day Ceremony, Beautification will be at the bottom.
Oh, they're in there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's okay.
So delegations 3.1, free little pantries, that's Jackie. Go ahead, Jackie, please.
Do I come to the pulpit?
Yes,
Okay. Am I being recorded?
you are, but
You
I'll
are.
probably
Would you
only
like
your
to be?
voice.
I did curl my hair.
They'll just hear you, they won't see you.
Okay. Well, I have the voice for, or the face for radio anyway. Okay, so a while back I came and presented to you on behalf of the Raymond Elementary School to get the RES little libraries up and running. And so thank you, that was awesome. But because of COVID and because there are some people in the community who are food insecure, that's a term I learned from Clarissa, she's really smart. We kind of formed a little committee called Raymond's Free Little Pantries to help those who don't have daily food. And so we worked with the elementary school and we took over their little libraries as our Raymond's little free pantries. Anyway, so what we want to do is we want to give them back their libraries and we want to have a permanent location and have our own pantry made. So
Interesting.
that is why I am presenting to you today. We are looking to get permission, and you're Abe?
Yes,
Hi there. You have my pictures?
I do.
Yes, thank you. We're looking for approval at the community center, inside and outside. Because of course we have 4 seasons, but really it seems like 2, winter and winter. And so we wanted to have an outside pantry, just there by the books, the book drop off, or wherever you guys would approve, for more of a seasonal, a warmer time. And then we want to have a pantry inside the little entryway there too, because cans freeze and expand. We can't have the cans outside, so we thought that this would be a good option. And so we are looking to get funding to build the boxes, the pantries. So I don't have actual dimensions for you, but you guys are kind of the first to go through in order for us to get the funding and everything. We need to have approval for the space.
But we do have a promise.
We do? From the Eagles?
Nice.
When did we
Oh,
get that?
those eagles are awesome.
They're nice.
Oh,
They're
nice.
great. That is so
Yeah.
awesome.
They're going to pay for them and build them.
Oh, wow.
Clarissa and Stuart, by the way,
Awesome.
are the ones who kick-started this committee, so they're amazing. The Fosses, they're the gift they keep on giving in this town. So, yeah, so Clarissa knows more than I. And so, anyway, we're just looking for approval to make permanent sites, so we don't have to keep borrowing the little libraries. And also, it's just not feasible to keep using them, as well as the cans.
They're not really big enough either. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
there's
we've made
kind of
do.
limited
Yeah.
space, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like someone donated diapers today and that took up a big portion of the pantry. So, and they're being used, by the way.
That's why I was wondering, could you give us a little report, even if it's anecdotal?
Okay, so, before we were kind of, all the committee members, we just stocked the pantries to begin with, out of our own pocket. And then we put bins at both pharmacies and the Merc with information, and Clarissa, you are the one that often empties them.
Yeah, we've
pretty-
emptied them about 3 or 4 times. We keep getting donations.
Yeah. But the biggest donation we had was Target Hunger. We got a whole truckload. And that's been amazing. And it seems like the pantries that got the most action for sure it was the clinic and the senior center, and the Phillips Park got a little bit of action, but I think the positioning of the pantry, well, the library, wasn't that great just because of the wind and everything, so there were lots of issues with the latch and the plexiglass fell out, and so we're not using that at all anymore. So those two that I said, those two sites had hit or miss action, but since we've had the Target Hunger food, like, it's really consistent. Like the night that I went to pick up the food, I filled the pantries, and the very next day, like at 8:30 in the morning, they gone. They were out.
Really?
And so I don't know if that's just one person taking, or if people just feel more confident to go and get the help during, like, you know, the evening hours when no one's out and about. So I think there's that anonymity that people like, where they can go get it anytime, and that's why we really want to have the outdoor location permanent at the community center, so people can get it whenever they feel comfortable, but then they also have the option to go inside during work hours, like during building hours.
Where do you, like, when you got all that food from Target Hunger, where do you store it?
So Ray would, it was all in his truck, in the back of his truck.
Okay.
And so, bless his heart, he said we could store it at ChemDry, but that's a short-term solution as well.
Okay.
So right now, we had permission from the museum to store there over the winter.
Good.
And so we have taken all the canned goods out, so we're only putting the dry goods.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that we would like to see. It would make more sense if we had a place to store the pantry items in the community center. So then we could just fill right there, because it is a little bit of an inconvenience.
So I'm not sure if there's a space available, you'd have to,
Like, is there a Harry Potter nook somewhere under the stairs?
Basement is what's in the basement?
there's,
Depending on the size required, we could probably find something.
that's possible, but yeah, let administration look into that, but.
Okay.
But we can work with Jackie.
Well, it sounds like it's a great project, what you're doing, and it sounds like it's being used, like.
It is, and also one thing that we don't know, we don't know how often community members are just restocking,
Mhm.
right? Because our little committee, we do that, but we'll drive past and it looks like something hasn't moved for a while, but that might not be the case. Maybe there are people, some wonderful people in the community who are just seeing a need and filling it on their own.
Good.
So it's kind of hard to give actual facts.
But if it's being used and
Yeah.
there's food going in and out, that's what you want, that's what you want.
But I'm also confident in when I say this, the people of Raymond love itchy van and craft dinner.
Those are popular items.
Like, we had some canned veggies that sat for a long time. But, so it's been great. It's been wonderful with all the people involved, and, you know, our kids are involved in it. And it's been a really great thing.
So tell me about the elementary school, you said they're gonna take their little,
Yeah, so
No,
they'll now use them, once we can phase out and put little notices on the little book houses to say, we still have pantry items, but these are the locations to get them, or I guess location.
and that wasn't
So-
you that was doing that too?
Kind of.
I know,
Well,
that's
cause
what
I
I
was on
thought.
school council, but I'm homeschooling now, so I'm no longer on I'm sorry, I'm no longer on school council, so.
So, okay, but they will be taking it over, someone will be?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Natalie Ball is the chair now, so
Okay.
I'll pass the buck to her.
Okay,
And
'cause-
Elaine Ross, the vice principal.
okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, well, this is something it's on our agenda farther down, we'll be talking about it yet tonight, but
Can I ask one more question, Jackie?
Sure.
Hey, excuse me, just got a frog in my throat. Hate to admit it, but I was the only ogre that voted against it when this came up.
Thanks
And
for
I'm
admitting that.
wondering, have there been any abuses? Have there been any tampering? Have there been any negative experiences?
Yeah, it's hard to say with the wind blowing that one door at the Phillips Park and just the plexiglass being removed. We think that's from the wind.
Okay.
Some of the latches weren't working super good, and so we had some people on the committee who are handy go and fix those. And actually someone anonymously fixed the door at Phillips Park. I'm pretty sure it's one of your relatives.
Okay, so it's been pretty positive. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not locked, so it probably
No.
wasn't somebody trying to bust in.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
But
there are
there's no-
still some books, like you'll see some people will put books here and there with the pantry items, so,
Okay.
but other than that.
Can I add?
Councillor Foss, go ahead.
I was just gonna add that, I don't think we've seen any like bad things placed in them, with the exception of perhaps some expired food, but, nothing dangerous or harmful or anything like that to the public.
Good. That's what I was worried about originally. Thank you.
Can I make a little suggestion? You know, Target Hunger, I would way rather to give to Raymond's little free pantries than Target Hunger. And that, I mean, not that they don't do good stuff,
Right.
but if you had that in the community, there would be a lot of people that would
Yeah.
donate. You know what I'm
The
saying?
stake was excited when we approached them. So I was just thinking we'd get a few bins, and they gave us a truckload, plus
Yeah.
we've been given all the bags that have kind of filtered in, trickled in slowly to the mark.
Oh, the
They've
ones
given
that
us-
didn't
yeah.
quite get there on
Yeah.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, but even if you did it solely for your project, you would have a lot of people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, just so you know, I mean,
So I was in contact with the stake, and just a little side note, so over the value of food donated to the Interfaith Food Bank was over $15,000.
really?
That was the value.
That's
So
awesome.
I don't know, because they do it based on weight, and I'm horrible at estimating weight, so who knows how much the town donated with
Yeah.
the truckload plus everything trickling in, but I think it's substantial for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
That
that's
is.
so generous.
that's really great.
That is good. It's exciting.
Well, that's a great service that you're doing the community. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Really
Last time, I didn't know how to end, so I did a low bow. So I'm just gonna do that again. All right.
Any other questions for Jackie from anybody?
Oh, you need me again.
No, I'm just trying to see, right, looks like it's okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
The low bow is not necessary.
Thumbs upwards.
Let's go to 3.2, our delegation, Brian Haas on the skate park.
Sure. So I have with me tonight as well Trent Williams, who will have a few things to say as a part of the presentation. I represent a group of about 5 or 6 other kind of middle-aged men who are behind this project. This is something that we're excited about and passionate about, so we want to share with you tonight our kind of ideas. I think that I sent Greg Robinson a presentation, and so I just want to kind of use that sort of to share with you our thoughts. So I'll just start with kind of what we see as the problem. We live in a wonderful community. I've been here for about 7 years now and love Raymond. The facilities for sporting is incredible, but we do see that there is one area that's really lacking, and that's support for any activities related to skateboarding, rollerblading, scooters, or BMX biking. And so the solution that we're kind of presenting is we would like the town to commit to a piece of land and then make plans with grant money and fundraising to build a quality skate park that's more than just a Band-Aid solution. You want to run to the next slide for me? What we wanted to present, and I want to be pretty quick tonight because this is just kind of our initial, we want to plant the seed here in your minds, is there's real value added to a community that actually has a skate park. There's a number of different research that have shown that having a skate park in the community has a positive effect upon mental health. It promotes healthy and active lifestyles. It actually reduces criminal behavior. It attracts tourism. I think about how sports tourism is a real thing here in Raymond. The things that we pushed with the VSP and all the bringing people in, and people actually, it may surprise you, actually go and travel around to go to skate parks. Down in Montana, there's these great parks built by a company called Evergreen, and people come up from California and travel around to hit up all these skate parks. On top of that, you know, with this idea of sports tourism, this summer, if the Olympics had happened, there was supposed to be skateboarding in the Tokyo Olympics, so it won't be long before you see that in the Summer Games. And if we're trying to appeal to Summer Games, we might as well have a facility for that to take place at, and so that's kind of the idea there. Probably one of the greatest parts, though, about having a skate park around is it does promote what I have here is positive multi-generational interaction. I don't know if you've ever watched people at a skate park. If you go to SLP in the city, what you'll see is kids of all ages, from 6, 7, 8, 9, and then up to teenagers and even some older people like us that will be there. And you'll always see the older kids teaching and helping the younger kids learn, you know, tricks and skills. And so it really becomes kind of a gathering place. And so that's one of the benefits of it. And I guess, you know, maybe my final point here when it comes to benefits is this idea that we have multiple needs that are met with one facility. Just like VSP meets the needs of rugby and football and soccer and other things, at the same time a skate park meets the needs of a whole bunch of different athletic adventures. And so, you know, we just felt that, like, if Raymond leads out in all these areas, why don't we lead here? And so that's what I wanted to share with you about the values that are added. I'm gonna have Trent come up. He's the real expert here. He knows so much about skate parks, and so I want him to come up and just share a little bit about our vision for Raymond Skate Park.
So, obviously a skate park can be an amazing thing, and it can be a horrible failure as well, and I've seen both in different communities. So, if you go to the slide, the vision right there. So, the skate park that we have in mind would be something that appeals to beginners to novices. And the reason I say that is because when you get some of these bigger city skate parks and stuff, they spend massive amounts of money on these gigantic expert level features that like 3 people use. So we obviously don't want to do that. We want something permanent. Like our idea would be that it would be permanent. A lot of communities through the 90s did like modular or wooden parks, and they last for about 10 years. And they're dangerous within about 5. So we don't want to bother with that either. So concrete done by a dedicated skate park construction company, like he mentioned, Evergreen. And then there's one in Canada that's done a lot around Lethbridge and Calgary, called New Line. So those are kind of the ideas that we have for that. It has to be well designed, and it has to be well lit and visible to the public. Otherwise, you start to, either it won't get used or it'll get abused. Once again, seeing it in different communities. Lethbridge, the first concrete skate park that they built was back shoved behind Dave Ellen Park, behind the BMX park. It became a haven for like pallet fires and all sorts of crazy stuff back there, and people don't even know where it is. You don't want that. You want it to be visible. You want it to be, like, a great example is the basketball courts here, the outdoor basketball court. You know, you can drive by, you can see who's there. It's visible to the public and it's safe. It's well lit. And the same idea goes for a properly built skate park. And obviously, you want to build something that's really low maintenance. So, as we talked to Stuart a little bit and we talked amongst ourselves, we know that gaining funding for it is a difficult, long task, but we're kind of willing to go through all that. And we know that it comes from, in the end, the maintenance comes from tax dollars, and we obviously are sensitive to that, so we want something that's really low maintenance. You know, we want something that people will continue to go to, but traffic there won't destroy it and cause a lot of cost. As someone who's been skateboarding for about 30 years, and another member of our group, Drew Canio, same thing, about 30 years, we're gonna kind of take on the role of making sure, if we can get it done, that it's done properly and realistically. That's all I have to say. Any questions for me?
It looks like Brian wants to come up and talk too.
I just have a few last points maybe before we get to questions, if it's okay.
Sure.
Just if you slide down a couple of pictures. We just put some pictures up here. These are examples of some of the smaller skate parks that you see in places in Montana. That kind of what we're looking for, this simple, open, easy access. And we wanted to make clear, and Trent was saying this, that what we're willing to do, because this isn't just, we're not just coming here asking you for stuff, but we're willing to put in the work. We're gonna be organizing a nonprofit organization called the Raymond Skate Park Association, which, you know, myself and Trent, Drew Canyo, Kip, Kai, and Tate Bamey are kind of the ones who are starting it, but we're gonna reach out to the rest of the community and open this up. And as an organization, our purpose is to work to help plan this, but also fundraise for it. We know that both funding to build it and then also even funding for maintenance can come partially from the fundraising that we do, and so that's what the work we're willing to do. And so the last slide is just what we're asking of you. And the reason we're asking these things, and number one is the most important, is we're asking for a motion of council to commit land for the project. Because for us to fundraise, we lack legitimacy or validity if we have no land committed on paper. But if we have a spot that's actually committed by the town, it gives us power to be able to go to individuals and organizations to try to raise money for it. So that's the first thing we want. The second thing we would like is just a commitment from the town and town employees to work with us. We'd work with the town rec to actually help design, plan, and carry out the skate park. And then finally, and this is something from talking with Councillor Foss, you know, as we get donations, we know that we can kind of work with the town to put those donations somewhere we can give tax receipts to people who donate and kind of help us with those resources. So those are kind of the three things we're looking. We know that we're at the very beginning stages of this. You know, we're not looking next year, we're looking 2, 3, 4 years down the road, but it's a road that we're willing to walk on, so.
So believe me or not, I've been on council 13 years, but it's come up every year in our organization, our planning meetings, trying to fit in a skateboard park, and we've talked about different locations. They keep changing. We've talked about having a BMX park. In fact, council gave the go-ahead for administration to do it, and then administration backed down on it. I mean, we've had these things, these plans for these in the works, but we just don't ever seem to get to the finalization of them, eh?
And probably what's gone wrong or why it's fizzled out is because a lot of that motivation might be coming just from internal. But we're an external organization that wants to push, and we're committed to the long run of this, so that should hopefully help.
And I can see that.
Will make a difference. You're not
Yeah.
planting seeds because it hasn't been talked about a lot.
That's
It
good.
has.
But to see this kind of support behind it and muscle behind it, if I can say, you know, that's a good development.
I mean, even 15 years ago, when I was on town council, yeah,
talked
gotta have a
about it then?
skateboard park, gotta have a but you know, it's different when somebody from the outside's coming in and then we're joining with them than for us to initiate it. You know, there's just
Yeah.
a lot of things that we're worrying about.
Mhm.
But you know, if it's a focus for you, then it could be a focus for us. So how much would one of those ones cost? Do you have a
That's my next question.
idea?
Me too.
Yeah.
So, obviously, construction costs fluctuate like crazy, but some of the figures that we're getting are about like $60 a square foot. So 5,000 square foot skate park is, you know, $300,000.
Yeah.
It's a big investment. Does it have to be 5,000 square feet? No. Does it have to be 10,000 square feet? No. But it has to be designed and carried out properly for sure.
And you want it to, like you said, you want it to last.
Yeah.
There's no use
Yeah.
doing it if it's not gonna be
Yeah,
permanent.
we don't want something that in 5 years is garbage. So.
No.
Like,
Well,
you may know that I built a skateboard ramp in my backyard this
for sure.
spring, and the response from the kids and everything, and has been crazy. Like, we have kids over there all the time whenever the weather's even remotely good enough, and we've turned a lot of people away because we don't know them. We have no connection to them, so we're not going to let them in our backyard. So I think the interest is there. It just doesn't automatically show itself unless there's something there.
Yeah, I have a unique position, obviously, with my employment to have the ear of pretty much all the teenagers here in town. And I've surveyed every class, and a vast majority of teenagers are behind this idea. They love the idea of creating this kind of community skate spot for you know, again, there's kids, we've got kids who scooter, a lot of kids are actually really good at scooters. We've got a lot of skateboarders, we have some rollerbladers, like, it's a good facility for all of them, so.
So as I drive by the one by Henderson Park, Henderson Ice Arena, that's always used. There's
Always,
a
and
lot of kids.
in a helpful manner, like you said. I mean, there's always little kids and big kids, and it seems like they're helping each other.
Yeah, I've never noticed that, but I'll try to look at that.
The,
How big is that one, do you know?
That was my question.
that's
how
about
big that
10,000
was.
square feet, so.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and then the one on the north side, Lethbridge, is probably 15,000, massive.
Wow.
And beautiful. But, that one has become the favorite. So if you go into, Legacy Park up there and walk the paths and walk around the skate park on any nice day, like, you'll see what a success it's been.
And they become some of the most used recreational facilities in the city. And we see that being something that would happen here.
I'm sure.
It'd be very busy.
I
Sure.
agree. So we're having a planning session here in a couple weeks, and I'm sure it'll be on our agenda to talk about it. It's great to see, like Councillor Fromm said, an outside committee wanting to work with us on this. Never had that before.
It always seemed like everybody asked for it, but they just say, build us one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's no.
And
I don't know,
we don't
no one
know
says, "I
anything
want
about it.
this," but
Like,
that's
we
it.
don't know,
And
we don't know the
play
first thing
skaters.
about it.
and we do talk about it, we really do, every year, but we kind of gets pushed down.
Yeah.
There's just other priorities that come, but it's nice to see someone want to help work with us.
Okay.
So you think you're probably looking at like a 5,000 square foot one is what?
Yeah,
is
that's kind of our
like the
goal.
one by Henderson, kind of like that. Now, is that gonna be big enough? Like, I'd hate to build something and then 3 or 4 years from now, we outgrow it,
thing
right?
that we've talked about is, there has been some really successful skate park projects that have been phased. So you start with something around 4,000 or 5,000 square feet and you plan for the future as well.
That's a good idea.
So
That's
you
some-
you
that's
need
something
land
we
big
would
enough to
like.
expand, is what
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
saying.
So that's my next question, have you got any ideas where you would like to have it?
We've talked about it, and you know, there have been some words and some stuff that we've heard talking from people that either work with the town or for the town or involved, and one of the spots that's kind of come up that we think would be good, that meets the criteria of being open and visible for everyone, is actually really close to VSP. That spot right across from the hospital, next to where the new path is. And the great idea about that spot is you're connecting into that path system that's being built all the way around town, and so it becomes an integral part of the whole system that's being created for recreation in town. And I love the idea of its closeness to VSP, so if we do end up getting to be a part of the summer games, like all of that is integrated together.
Good point.
So,
So our community services manager that just left, that's where he had pegged it at.
So administratively, we have worked with Alberta Transportation, because that's not our land, that's Alberta Transportation right away. And they have given tentative approval for something, we'd have to come with more of a proposal, but it did fit in, that would be one of our identified trailhead parks, where we'd have 3 around the entire trailhead system, and that would be one of them. The concept was to have a phased-in approach, but it would have a pump track kind of come off the path and then lead into a concrete structure. We didn't want to go metal for the exact reasons you said. The edges lip up and then it just causes problems. But the initial plan was to have it lit and have a gazebo parking off-site, like off-road, so that it's an actual trailhead park in that sense. So we have submitted applications in the past or grant programs, it hasn't worked. But your society, we would definitely be willing to help put in those applications under your guys' banner and participate in that sense for sure. At least administratively, it's something that we would love to see. It's just council hasn't been able to prioritize the dollars yet because of other challenges, so.
So Brian, are you the one that we have our administration contact?
yeah, me or Trent really, like, we're kind of the ones, and there's these other guys that we're working with. We're just in the initial steps of formally organizing our, our nonprofit organization. We've just had a first couple of meetings with all of us together, but certainly you contact me or Trent, yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions from anybody?
So that 5,000 square foot one, like I've been to the one in Henderson and I've just watched the kids to see how they do, and I don't understand how you'd use that for like summer games and competitions, because it just doesn't seem like it's designed for that. Could you design one that's 5,000 square feet where you could use them for competitions and summer games?
So the 2 disciplines that they're bringing into the Olympics, one's called street and one's called park. It's kind of like similar to how there's different disciplines in like say
Skiing.
Snow skiing?
yeah, skiing or any sport like that. So the type of park that we're thinking of would be something that could be used for the park discipline.
Okay.
You could do a park that has a little bit of both. But I'd have to get the criteria that they're using for the Olympics. I don't know that. I just know that there's the two different disciplines. The whole organized Olympic summer game type of competition for skateboarding is early in its history, yeah.
But if we build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's what happened in my backyard.
Probably more than you wanted.
Well, very good. Anyone else have any questions for these two gentlemen? No? Yeah, we'll talk about it. I'm not sure we're gonna give you a motion tonight, because we don't know where we want it either, for sure, but it is on our radar. We have been talking about it.
But we are excited that you came.
Yeah,
'Cause
sure.
I'm with
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, I
Awesome,
am too.
thank you.
Well, this tells me that it would actually get used more than I thought it would.
Yeah.
You know, because there's actually people out there that are very interested to the point where you wanna start an association
Yeah.
and raise money for and stuff, so.
All my
That's
grandkids love skateboarding, as you know.
Awesome, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oops.
I saw in your presentation, I thought it said Raymond's State Park.
Yeah, I sent
Somebody caught that.
I sent an updated version to Greg with that change, but he must have not put that newer one in.
I think he did, because now it's changed, so.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Good job.
I noticed a few changes this afternoon as I was looking through it, so.
Thank you.
Okay, our next delegation is Chanita, am I saying that right?
Shonita,
Shonita Sims, and it's about dog licenses.
yes, with regards to service dogs.
Okay, good, go ahead.
I'm speaking about dog bylaw 993-12, the dog control bylaw. At this time, I'm requesting that service dog license fees be waived. I'm part of a service dog community on Facebook, and I asked which communities are waived service dog license fees and received the following response. Camrose, Calgary, High River, Olds, Pincher Creek, Edmonton, Grand Prairie, Okotoks, Stony Plain, Leduc, Chestermere, Sherwood Park, Fort McMurray, and Lethbridge. And I'm certain my list is incomplete. I also contacted John Wheelwright, Disabilities Program Alberta Human Services Specialist at Alberta Health Services, and he is in charge of the service dog program in Alberta. I can provide you with his contact information if you wish. He's open to discussing anything with you. He mentioned section 3(1)B in the Alberta Service Dog Act, which I'd like to read now. It says, no person directly or indirectly alone with another by himself or herself or by the interposition of another shall discriminate against any person with respect to the accommodation, services or facilities in any place to which the public is customarily admitted or the charges for the use of them, for the reason that the person is a disabled person accompanied by a service dog. At this time, I'm asking that dog license fees be waived for certified service dogs. And this to be in alignment with other municipalities. Certified service dogs can be verified by a certification card, which has a picture of both the service dog and handler, and has the handler and dog's name. I'm also requesting that bylaw 993-12, section 5.14 be amended. And I quote from this, it says, no person shall be entitled to a rebate or refund of a fee paid for the issuance of a license tag, vicious dog tag, under this bylaw. Currently, I'm in the process. I believe in February I should have my dog certified. I would be requesting a rebate for dog license fees if dog license fees for service dogs are waived. I would be asking for a rebate for the remainder of the year. As it says in section 9.3 that dog license fees are to be paid in full by January 31st. I'm also asking at this time that service dog license fees also be waived. I know that Lethbridge and Pincher Creek waive dog license fees for service dogs in training. I would like to mention that the number of service dogs in Alberta is growing, and the amount of owner training service dogs is also growing. And thank you for your time.
Questions? Anybody have any questions for Shanita?
Yep. Shani, any idea of the magnitude of this issue in Raymond? How many service dogs, do you have any idea from your Facebook group?
At this time, as far as I'm aware, there are 2 service dogs in training and 1 certified service dog. But I'm not certain if there is any more, and I do expect the numbers to rise.
Okay.
It has been rising throughout Alberta.
And what is the reason for this service dog that you're training right now?
I have a number of mental health issues, including complex PTSD and social anxiety. When I'm finished here, she is going to be doing what is called deep pressure therapy on me, and that helps calm my anxieties. I'm not exactly sure the technicalities of it, but I know it works. She also does nose, which is touching me with her nose, my hand, and so when I start to panic, it helps ground me and focus me on what's here and now instead of what's causing me to panic. She also does blocks, which help keep people at a distance and gives me that social bubble that I need. And she's learning more all the time.
Awesome.
Wow.
And you're training her yourself?
I have a dog trainer that I work with once a week, but I do train her the remainder of the time. For her to be certified, she needs 240 hours of training. I currently have over 100 hours above that.
Wow.
And you do a really good presentation.
Thank
No
you.
anxiety, you seem like as calm as anybody.
Not, you're about to
Dog is working.
faint.
Yes.
Yeah, we are really easy to talk to, so
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah.
but this is very interesting, I had no
It
idea.
is.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it, I shouldn't say speak for anybody else, but we'll discuss it yet tonight.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
What's your dog's name?
Shanita?
Heel. This is Hope.
Oh, good.
That's what she is to me.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be included in our agenda. Okay. Oh, we're down to 5 people now in our gallery, we have 20 left. We have our 4.1, approval of council minutes, we'll move on. You have the council minutes in front of you.
I'll move those.
Councillor Fromm moves those, any discussion? If not, all in favor? And we have the council committee minutes in front of us.
I'll move those.
Councillor Harker will move those. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, good. Moving right along, number 5 is the financial report. You have the accounts payable in front of us. Anybody have any questions?
I'll move financials.
Councillor Capiters moves financials. Any discussion on any of these? So the 2020-2072, the MasterCard financial, September expenses, is the audit committee going over those?
When there's an audit committee meeting, we do present those there. We didn't have one this month, just due to vacation of an employee, and so that's why it hasn't happened yet. But the files have all been presented, and they'll be ready for the next meeting for them to review.
Okay, that's good, because that's kind of a lump one, the MasterCard. Anyone else have any discussion on this?
I just check number 82, seniors travel funding. Is that like a rebate or, I guess?
It's kind of an annual contribution that we give
Oh,
to their
gotcha.
organization.
Okay.
This year with COVID, there hasn't been a lot of activities, and so there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for them to even raise revenue. And so I believe this is just actually helping them pay the bills. I
Excellent,
believe.
thank
So-
you.
Okay,
We do usually go over those at audit and finance committee
On the
meeting
MasterCard?
before, yeah, before we come to this meeting with them.
Okay, good. Okay. You have a motion on the floor. Do we need to talk about the budget to actuals first, or is that a separate motion?
However you'd like to do it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Go ahead.
I think you're doing it right, yeah.
We have a motion on the floor for the accounts payable then, by Councillor Capeters, right?
Yeah.
Any other discussion then? All in favor? Okay, let's go to the year-to-date 2020 budget to actuals. Any discussion from,
So the Audit and Finance Committee hasn't had a chance to see this yet. Our Chief Financial Officer, Martin Wolf, developed this before him and his family went on vacation. And so they'll be able to see this here, but we are pretty much exactly where we should be on the vast majority of all our line items. There are a few that, within the detail, that are a little bit higher or a little bit lower, and some of those just because they haven't been fully allocated. And some general ledger adjustments need to occur, but by and large, we are either on schedule or under budget overall. And we are looking very favorable for the rest of this year. Our cash flow situation is significantly improved compared to where it was this time last year. And we are in a much better fiscal position going forward. And so we don't foresee any major hiccups down the path, but at the next Audit and Finance Committee, if there's any questions that the new Audit and Finance Committee has, we'll definitely go into detail.
So we're kind of looking for 75%, or less for the expenses and 75% or more for the revenues, and that's pretty good.
okay. Any questions from anyone? Okay, we need a motion to accept this then.
I'll move.
Councillor Hagee? And all in favor? Okay, good job. Items for discussion, 6.1, council condolences. Very unfortunate to lose Councillor Price. He was a very good man, a very good representative of our community. Nice press release by the administration today. So, one question I had, Curtis, maybe you know this, as elected officials, is there anything for us on the, is there any kind of insurance for elected officials to cover funerals?
Previously, council had benefits that were similar to the town, in which there was a life insurance portion that was removed when council came on and got rid of the benefits package for them. So to our knowledge, there is no benefit or support that is paid out on the town's behalf for this.
Okay, I was trying to remember that and I couldn't quite, just doesn't happen enough to really think about it.
Thank Kevin. Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah, thank heavens is right. Okay.
And will we need to have a by-election, or what will we do? Just
No,
wait the year?
It's, Curtis looked it up and it needs to be a year and a half away, so.
Oh, okay.
There's certain criteria. We made a criteria that allows us to have an 18-month window, and so we aren't planning on having a by-election. We'll just operate with 6.
Yeah,
If it's a tie, it's defeated going forward until the next council meeting, or the next council election, which will be the 3rd Monday in October of 2021.
And I've been asked that question lots, Councillor Harker. There's gonna be a
Yeah,
by-election.
I just wondered, a couple of people asked me today.
Well, it's good that you asked.
That
Okay,
is a nice announcement. I've already heard comments about it, so it's noticed already.
It was on the radio, on the 5 o'clock
Was
news. Yeah,
it was?
yeah, Country 95.5 announced it on the radio.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we sent out
It's
just
very
a
nice,
standard
yeah.
press release, so.
We will sure miss him.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
sure
big
will.
time.
Would this cover posting on Facebook or whatever and about not having a by-election because of?
Wait.
that
Probably a
there's
good
less
idea.
Good
than
idea.
months?
Probably people are wondering if we're gonna do a by-election.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
I
good.
just wanna post that or on
Good.
the town website or
Because the radio did say
wherever.
no date has been set for a by-election,
Oh,
Well-
there you go.
Oh, really?
but they didn't say if we're having one or not, they just said no date's been set.
Yeah, we've talked about a release. Today is the day we put out the release for
Yeah,
just the general notice. We didn't want to cumbersome it with business per se, so,
absolutely.
That's thoughtful too.
but we
Okay.
can definitely put something out.
That's just for information, what was here, so, anyway. So let's move on to 6.2, 2019 annual report. I looked over it, I thought it looked really good. Very well done,
It's a classy report.
yep, very well done. Any comments from you two that are zooming in, are you okay with it? Okay, I guess we need a motion to accept the 2019 annual report.
Go ahead.
Councillor Hagy makes that motion. Any other discussion then? All in favor? Okay, good. So 6.3, the arena reentry plan. Councillor Hagy, I was hoping you had a good chance to look this over.
I read it.
I was gonna talk to my son, I did talk to him, but not about ours, about others. I think this one looks pretty good.
So yeah, administration's been reviewing what's been happening at other communities. The town of Cardston and the town of McGrath are largely going to be following what we're doing here. We are trying to offer a public skate still program. The organized hockey portion will all be the same. I think we are one of the only ones that are trying to do a public skate. Cardston was offering one, but I guess ran afoul with the inability to track who was attending for contact tracing, and so they've actually been they've decided not to offer public skating this year, is my understanding. We're not looking at being the organization that will be enforcing rental group users from enforcing the COVID guidelines. Minor hockey or the SSHL or the other groups that are there, they'll be responsible to be making sure that their groups are enforcing populate their spectator counts and total numbers of people within the building. And there are some criteria that are set up for when they can arrive, when they'll have to leave by, come dressed, the protection that they need to be using, how many people can be within the building. The public skating, though, is something we are trying to still be able to offer, and there's kind of two considerations for council. Abe, if you just scroll back down and then twist it around again so that it's on the last page. At the bottom, there's a section on public skating. There's a guy at the door trying to get or something. So the public skating portion, we're looking to have a maximum of 30 skaters that'll be allowed on the ice at a time. They will have to register, and they'll have to register on our Sportsman Recreational Programming Service. And so I'll actually just pull that up here to kind of show you what we've got organized. It is very simple. They will not be able to register until the day before it opens, but if they just go to raymondrecreation.ca, I'll pull this over here if you can see it. Scroll over to the register tab. Come down to register, programs or activities. We've already got it populated there. So adult and tots will be from Fridays from 11 to 12. This will be a free public skate. And if you wanted to register for that, you click on it. You won't be able to actually register though until the day before the date that you're trying to choose. And the reason we wanted to have some control there is since we are limited numbers, it's gonna be easy for people to potentially book off a whole bunch of dates and then not show, and then individuals that wanted to come didn't have an opportunity. The remainder of the public skates though, we're looking for a Friday from 3 to 4:15, a Monday from 7:15 to 8:15, and a Tuesday from 7:10 to 8:05. These would be a $2 fee per person. And the reason we're trying to do this again is if there isn't a cost, people don't show up. It's likely. It's far easier for them just to decide, no, something's come up, we're not gonna go, and somebody else that did wanna go has been precluded from that opportunity. And it isn't a huge fee, it's just $2 per person.
Is it payable online?
Yeah, you just pay it online.
Okay.
Now, two considerations for council is one, we are going to have to try and find a way to trace or ensure that the people who have registered are the ones that are actually showing up. So we will have to have a staff member there, and people that come will have to show, they'll have a list, and they'll have to show some ID basically saying that they are the people who have registered and they can come on. And that if there is an incident, we're able to report to Alberta Health Services who was attending at that time so they can do their contact tracing. Council can decide, we're just looking for kind of a summer student that, or a seasonal worker that would just fulfill that time obligations during this public skating times. But that's kind of how we're proposing this to happen. If council finds problems with this, there really isn't another way to do it from what we've been able to determine that will be simple, convenient, and yet still meet all the COVID guidelines that we are required to follow.
So your thinking is, if they pay $2, that'll commit them?
They'll be more than likely to commit, and then at the very least, if they don't show up, we still got some funding to pay for the staff member that's gonna have to be there to make sure that the people show up who show up.
So is the plan to hire like a student or something to,
We would just
To
keep some of our seasonal
or-
staff that haven't necessarily come off payroll yet, that just aren't getting hours, we would just give them occasional hours.
okay.
Well, at least something's gonna be open this year, that's nice.
Public skating's always been free though.
Yeah.
Well, not always.
Not always.
Not always. It's been free the last number of years, but a $2 fee is nominal, and it does help I mean, to be honest, the public skating has been free, and it almost has been too many people on the ice at a time, because it's just been our arena is not that big, and so it's almost been at times not safe, and so by having a small fee, I think it will help regulate numbers so that it's more of a safe or.
Yeah. It used to be $2 or else you could get a season pass
Yes.
before.
But nobody ever was there to collect money
The ring guy
for
did.
years.
No, the ring guy did.
Well, they went, if you went and paid
This
them,
registration system, cap it at
it's
30.
never been really well done.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. I understand what you're saying, this might be the only way to do this. And you have to have someone there, I guess, because of COVID to mark them off. So if someone just shows up and there's only 20 people on, they can't go on because they didn't register?
No, if only 20 people registered and someone shows up, you can let them on. But if you got 30 people registered, you can't let them on in case
Well,
that person shows up.
we
right?
would need to be getting their contact information and collecting
Yeah.
a fee if we're charging that.
So you would,
The employee could have that discretion. We are though trying to make this, we don't want the employee having to be the police where they're gonna be catching a lot of grief from people that are frustrated by this, which is why if it's just, you have to register or you don't go, that's a common thing that's out, and it's not gonna be an argument that the seasonal staff member's gonna have to have with someone because maybe only one of their family members can go. And, oh, come on, 31's not a big deal. No, I'm sorry, this is our rule. And it's not, this individual doesn't need to be the one to have to fight them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand the logic of what you're saying, but the practicality, logic sometimes gets thrown out the window when people are emotional about an issue they're passionate about, and we don't wanna have to have this seasonal staff member having to be the police that has to argue that point. You don't have to have a fee, but you do run the risk that people will register, not show up, and then those that wanted to go
Yeah, book up,
don't.
but
And it is a
no
small
fees.
fee. I mean, with our cleanup day program, this is diverting a little bit, but at first it started as a free service. That cleanup day was basically clean up 3 weeks. Every month, the town staff were just cleaning up garbage that was brought up to the street curb. We added a $10 fee, and it dropped down to where it was literally a cleanup day. And so it's a nominal fee. That is something that's going to make people a bit more committed instead of just booking off time that may or may not be realized. And we don't feel it's overly intrusive to prevent someone from going if it was a priority for them.
that is true.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it could be changed down the road if it's not working,
Correct, yep.
correct? I still think they're gonna, whoever is doing it is gonna have to police it anyway, it's gonna be tough.
They're gonna police because the people that don't register online, there's gonna be people just showing up, right?
There will be.
So they're gonna have to police that part then, so you can't,
For
you're
sure.
not registered, you can't come.
But if it's a blanket statement, if you're not registered,
Yeah.
you don't get to participate.
Makes it easier.
It makes it easier, and, I mean, we'll do our part to advertise that. There'll be another operator there, that's the one that's actually running the Zamboni and running the ice plant. So there will be more than that one staff member if a need arises for some support, but we are hoping that people will be understanding that this is a, 18 to 22-year-old individual that's, or maybe even younger, that's just there to do a job, and they didn't make the rule.
Yeah.
And, kindness goes a long way.
So you've talked to other communities, and how are they doing it? Is it the same way?
Some are offering public skates, some are not. It's really kind of, there's some set realities, and we've tried to base it off of that, but Cardston and McGrath are gonna be basing their minor hockey type rentals after this type of a format if it's approved. And we would like to have continuity between Raymond, McGrath, and Cardston because a lot of our users are the same.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody?
I got a few questions.
Councilor Hagy, go ahead.
My first one is, we don't want anybody in the lobby watching the hockey game, right? All the spectators, from what I read here, are supposed to be in the stands.
Correct.
Okay. I have a suggestion that we black out those windows then, with just black paper or something like that, because if not, you can have someone trying to police all the time, because I guarantee, if you've gone to watch hockey games, if it's cold out there, they're all inside the lobby watching through that glass. So it's just a suggestion,
Okay.
It's a good
because
suggestion.
you don't want to have someone, the ring guy, to have to worry about going, okay, you can't stand here, you can't stand here, and like he's gonna go back every 5-10 minutes,
Yep.
telling people they can't stand there. So that was one thing. I was just curious, so for minor hockey and other events, is the concession allowed to be opened?
We're still
I know other
determining
rinks-
that.
A lot of other rinks aren't opening up the concessions.
Yeah, we're not eager to do that, just due to everything, but I don't know, I do not have the answer if that has been fully decided. We're, through this process, a few other things have come to light with respect to the concession and how we've been doing it, and insurance and liability and things like that, so we're gonna be having a conversation with the users anyway about some changes that we're gonna be requiring, but I'm not sure if that's been fleshed out yet in this conversation.
Because I know, and I know Councilor Capers could probably confirm this, is that at your school events, there's no concession from what I understand, like football games, volleyball games, or anything like that.
No, right now, any type of concession has to be from certified food handling company.
Yeah, okay. And I assume the same would be for the ice arena.
So I can interject here. I was at two different rinks on Saturday. One was in Three Hills, and they had a concession going. One was in Penhold, and they didn't have one going. The people were only in the lobby when they were coming in or going out, but then the stands had people in there. Just for your information on that, how those two rinks are being ran.
Another question I had, are the users gonna be overlapping at all? Like it says that they can't arrive more than 20 minutes before, and they have to be gone within 20 minutes. So is the other group gonna be let in to get ready for their ice slot before the other group is gone in the 20 minutes after their ice slot?
I don't know the answer to that question, because I don't know what the schedules are like, but there is a space in between when they flood, and I believe there's a space in between where they're trying to accommodate for that, but I can't answer that question, Councilor Hagy.
Okay, no, it's just something I was curious about. Another thing is that it mentioned there that you can use the dress rooms and the showers, but if you have to be gone in 20 minutes, that really doesn't give you much time to get undressed and shower and get dressed and out of there. So that's why I was thinking of maybe 30 minutes might be better than 20 minutes, or just close down the showers. That might even be an easier
I
solution.
would say that's the easier
We
solution.
would
Yeah.
choose to close down the showers.
Better solution too.
Yeah. Because I guarantee that if you let people shower, they're not gonna be out there in 20 minutes, right?
No, good observation.
So, okay, and the only other thing I had, two more things, sorry. Dress room number 1. I read in here if they're using dress room number 1 and 2, they have to exit through the east doors. But if you're using dressing room 1, wouldn't it be easier to go out the west door, or do you want anyone using that door?
I believe the west door isn't going to be used,
At all? Okay.
but again,
I just thought it'd be easier coming around that direction, the west door's right there. And then they're not going all the way through the arena.
Yeah, I can't tell you the rationale, I wasn't part of these conversations, the staff have kind of come up with this, but they.
And I'm okay either way, I just was wondering if
They
there's.
have been pretty thorough, but I think it's literally just trying to have less access points and less touch points, where it's more coordinated as to one exit point
Okay.
and entrance point.
And my last question, I think we talked about this last week, is the total capacity of the arena, counting the users and spectators, is it 100 or 150? What are we allowing? Because according to Alberta Health Services, for arenas, it could be 50 users plus 100 spectators, which is a total of 150 people.
I think that's the maximum you'd allow as long as the groups can social distance. I'd have to ask the staff, but I mean, if the guidelines allow a maximum that you can go up to, provided that, we'd have to determine what our facility can accommodate. I don't know the answer to that, but it would be to try and make it as accessible as possible, I would understand.
So I would concur with that. Being in those two arenas I was in, they were big. And there was a lot of people in them, but it was big. Ours isn't as big as those. So I think you'd limit, you wouldn't have 100.
From what I understand from Alberta Health Services, is they allow, it's supposed to be 100 people maximum in the building, but they allow the 50 on the ice because there's a glass barrier between the users and the spectators. So that's why they're saying you could have a 50 users plus the 100 spectators.
We'll be having 30 users on the ice in our facility, and we'll have to determine the total number of spectators still.
That'll be yet to come. Yeah,
Well, 30's for public skating though, right?
Well, you're not gonna have more than 30 on the ice necessarily in a game either.
In a hockey game you will, because teams have 15 players each, plus you have the referees and the timekeepers and the coaches,
Then I
right?
guess there'll be an allowance for that.
So, and that's why they give up to 50.
Okay, and that could be, I can check with the staff to find out the
Okay.
details there.
Okay, that's something you'll get back to us on. Good points, Councillor Higgy.
Yeah,
Yeah, just to be having been at those two rinks, it was interesting to see how they were working in those two towns, so. Anyway, good.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? So, do you need a motion on this right now with your changes?
We'd like a motion just basically approving this as the format that we'll be using going forward. You can make to say as amended, just to kind of reflect blacking out the windows in the lobbies and closing down the showers. But we would like a motion, yes, under this guideline.
I think you might wanna look into using that west door too. I think that's a really good idea he's got too, cause then you're not going back out and through that other door to go to the east door.
At least you don't have to sanitize that west door all the time, right?
I mean, the
That
one
could be
challenge
reason
potentially
too.
is the west parking lot is totally closed off now for public access due to the asymptomatic testing
Oh.
site that's there, and that's Monday through Sunday.
Oh, seriously?
From, I can't remember the hours, so I'm not sure if that was a rationale for a
Okay.
reason.
So
I
they
don't
took
know that.
the- They have the whole parking lot?
Yep.
Not even school kids can park
Nope.
there?
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my goodness.
I didn't know that.
They're
And that very well could be the
expecting-
rationale,
So
that
that
makes
could be,
sense.
I don't know for sure though,
Yeah.
but we can look into potentially discussing the west door. But, I mean, if your guys are okay with this in principle, I mean, administration can work through some of these other things that you've identified and see if there's a way we can accommodate them or a reason as to why not, and let you know.
Okay, so we need a motion for
Good in
this then?
principle.
Someone wanna make a motion?
Go ahead, Ken.
Okay. I'll move.
Mr.
that we-
Hockey.
Yeah.
The hockey
I'll move
guy.
this according to, with those amendments.
Okay,
And I think the door thing, a lot of that is directional too. They've got to control direction of traffic, so
Yeah.
people aren't going east and west at
Yeah.
the same time. They have to go in an order.
And yeah, and I agree, and I just was wondering what the rationale was, right? And-
Yeah.
And I,
but it does make sense to go through that west door if they're in that dressing room, cause it's just
Yeah.
right there. Instead of going back
but there's
through.
no, yeah. Even if they can't park there, they can go through that door and walk around. I was in Coaldale on the weekend teaching referee school, and we all park in front, but everyone had to go out the east door and then walk around to your vehicles.
Yeah.
So,
See, and that's a directional flow.
yeah, and that's
too,
a
so
directional
that
flow,
you're
as you
not
come
passing
in,
each other
you
going-
go east,
Yeah.
and you just keep on going east until you exit, and then you just go on, so that makes sense, I just,
Yeah.
So these two rinks I was in, they did not have that, unless they had 30, 40 people were standing in the lobby.
See, they're not being strict enough, they could
Yeah.
get shut down.
Right. Right. Just interesting.
And we have to just err on the side of caution, I'm sure,
Yeah.
so.
Okay,
No fun.
okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Then all in favor? Okay, good. 6.4, the CPO council priorities.
Perfect, except to
Yeah.
me, the time seems a little wacky. Cause if like, well, it just says between, especially between. And I'd like to see it maybe more, after 3:30. I mean, kids are in school until 3:30, and then that's
Yeah.
when the congestion starts.
So you'd like 3:30 to 4.
Yeah, and maybe they have to be in school by 8:30.
3:15 till we could adjust that.
Yeah, just so there's time when kids are coming
Okay.
and going back and forth from school.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it just has a little bit broader, and just the timeline is all. But that's exactly
So
what
do you
we
want a
asked for.
7:30 to 8:30 and a 3 to 4?
I think so.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
So how are they doing on the derelict vehicles bylaw?
It's on the list of things they're working through. I don't have an update for you at the moment, but we can have that for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure, if they even could come and we could talk to them again. Okay, anything else from anybody on this? Okay, we need a motion to accept the new CPO council priorities. Councillor Frahm makes that motion. Any other discussion? Then all in favor? The RCMP priorities, 6.5.
Looks good.
Yep, this is what we have identified.
Can I move that one too?
Sure, Councillor From's gonna move that. Any discussion on that? Then all in favor? Okay, good. 6.6, the residential development incentive policy. Go ahead, Curtis.
Council's been discussing this the last few weeks with a way to formalize a pre-existing kind of informal policy that we've had since probably 2006 as a way to support residential developers. Council directed administration to do kind of a cost-benefit analysis to determine if there was a value to the community for this type of program, and the report came back overwhelmingly that is a tremendous and substantial benefit to the community for a very little cost. And so council directed administration to formalize this. This is the policy that we presented to you at your last committee meeting, that we're just looking for a motion approving. It outlines what a eligible development will be, identifies the project objectives, and the criteria going forward. Now, there was one addition, the Municipal Government Act, and I did put that in the background document that was highlighted in red there. I don't know if anyone caught it, but a difference from what we talked about last week, the Municipal Government Act does not specifically specify that you can provide more than 1 year tax forgiveness, but it doesn't specify that you can't. And so, in talking with Municipal Affairs, they just caution that there is a possibility that if a council approved a developer for a tax forgiveness, if you will, or for their development, if it was an eligible one, and an election happened and a new council came in and they felt that that was inappropriate, and they decided to cancel it, then potentially you would be opening the town up to a liability potentially from the developer for those quote-unquote lost tax deferrals or tax waived opportunities. And so administratively, we believe that the risk of that is fairly slim. Even if another group came in, I think we could explain, based on the numbers that we presented to you before, the overwhelming benefit that has been there for the very small amount of money that is actually being forgiven or waived. And that if a council felt that they did not agree with that policy, that they would just not add or extend it to new opportunities for new developers or new phases. And as the existing ones expired, you just want to allow them to renew. And we do feel that that would be fairly, I mean, a rational conversation could be had where a logical, conclusion could be made. They have given the ability to defer up to 15 years for commercial or non-residential, but they haven't specified anything on a residential side. And so we're just looking for council to approve this policy because administratively we feel that the tremendous benefit is there. Just for some examples, the one development has brought in 9 years, $1.6 million in taxable revenue.
Fantastic.
It was brought in about $26 million in new assessment, and it's cost the town $120,000 of deferred municipal taxes, which is only affecting our budget a little bit from how much we anticipate to collect. And we were only out of pocket $20,000 for what we paid to the province for education and seniors.
And I think Joan should move up because it uses the word incentivize.
Yeah, me too.
As per council.
Yes.
The only sentence that I think is a little bit bold is that this agreement shall be in effect for the duration of the 5-year term, will not be subject to any changes in the policy made by council. But that's exactly what you just explained. I think it needs to be in there in order to avoid any potential litigious ramifications. So, is it proper to say that?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, again, $120,000 sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But over 9 years, when you divide that down, maybe $20,000 a year. And when you're comparing that to the taxes that have been earned, which is new money going forward forever, which helps to subsidize the rest of the tax base, it's a no-brainer, hands down. And I'll be honest,
It's a brilliant policy.
I was skeptical of the overall benefit when I first started doing the analysis, and I totally changed my tune after we went through it, that this has been a slam dunk, no-brain win for the town of Raymond, and it should be perpetuated.
Amen.
Yeah, I love that.
So that
Mayor.
seems, go ahead, Councillor Foss.
I just had one question for Curtis. I know the policy enables you to propose these agreements and bring them to council. Will each agreement be laid out in writing and signed by parties, sort of like as a legal agreement between?
Yes, there'll be a legal agreement done for each phase. They'll specify basically the phase and the starting date. And council, even with this policy, every year council will still have to waive the taxes annually. And so there will be a motion that will be brought to council around the same time as your tax rate bylaw and your budget's passed. They'll say, great, we've set the budget, we've set the tax rate bylaw, now we need to waive the specified roll numbers of the approved dollar amounts based on the policy.
So council's hands are tied at that point too. They must move that every year for
Yes.
5 years, right?
Or risk a potential liability.
Okay.
And again, I mean, it's not free of liability. There is a bit of a risk to the organization, but again, on 9 years worth of development, it would have cost the town $140,000.
And that's not even a really, it's an expense, it's just a foregone, it's a
120 of it's
non-collection.
foregone, 20 of it's the hard expense.
Not bad.
So I mean, you can absorb the waived municipal taxes easily enough within your budget. We don't collect all the taxes we anticipate, we don't collect all the utilities we anticipate, and our budget has allowances for that. This could easily be absorbed in that category, but I mean, the vast majority of lots in the subdivisions that have had this offered to them they've sold within a few years.
Good, so you don't even have to wait for the 5-year
No.
term to expire. I think this is good business.
So
really
do I.
do.
And I like that we have actually put it on paper, instead of just,
So nobody has to ask for a
Nobody
written
has to-
agreement.
yeah.
It's
I
automatic.
like this.
And
I
there will
like
be-
it formalized. I
Yes,
think it's
100%.
really good to have it formalized.
So
We will have a
verbal-
legal agreement.
It's not a verbal one is what you're saying?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
we're not sure exactly what was
Yes.
said, this is
Yeah.
on paper. Yeah. Okay. Everybody understands it, we've talked about it for a couple of meetings. Do we need a motion
Yes, please.
for this?
I will move that residential development incentive program.
Councilor
That's
Harker
great.
moves this. Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, good. 6.7, the MCCAC electric vehicles for municipalities funding program. Tell us about this one.
So the MCCAC is short for the Municipal Climate Change Action Center. It's a provincial grant program that the province has had in effect for a number of years. It is the funding organization that we received the $640,000 that we received for the solar program that we've done, phases 1 and 2. There's a bunch of different branches within the MCCAC for funding, and we did discuss with committee last week the administration's desire and need to go ahead with some of these programs to replace some of our infrastructure that just will not perpetuate. And so one of the examples was the golf course. The golf carts that we have, the amount of time and money we've spent repairing them at the end of this year, especially with the changes to the course, we will not be able to really carry them on. They've kind of been run into the ground. And so we are looking to replace those. The golf course has made profit this year, and we anticipate that that profit will continue. And so we're just looking to absorb the leasing costs for the electric carts within our operations budget of the golf course. It would be a perpetual lease where after 5 years, we would just trade the carts in and get a brand new set of carts. With the MCCAC program, though, we'd be getting electric carts, which would reduce the need to have additional fuel, oil changes, repairs, because there just isn't an engine that you have to maintain. And so it would save our cost operationally as well, and we'd get about $2,200 back in rebates per fleet car, or per golf cart. And so it's gonna work out, instead of about $7,500 a cart, it'd be about $5,400 a cart. And so we're going to be going ahead with that. We discussed it with you at last meeting, and so this is just kind of that motion approving that kind of a direction. The other one was taking advantage of a different program for and kind of testing out an electric vehicle from a fleet perspective. And so we were going to be utilizing it from an administrative council's perspective, where there'd be a vehicle when you're attending council committee meetings or going up to Edmonton or Calgary or other places like that. There's an electric vehicle that would be, it's a plug-in gas electric, so you still have the security of a gas engine if you're trying to drive to Edmonton in the winter. But it would allow us to utilize the solar capacity that we have here, and there'd be about a $7,000 rebate on that vehicle, plus a $2,500 rebate from the federal government, which would more than cover the first year's lease. And the concept that we're initially going in here again is that it would be a perpetual lease, that at the end of the time we just turn it in and get a newer vehicle and keep going forward with that. And we anticipate that the savings that we would not have to be paying the mileage are gonna come close, if not pay for that, and it will depend upon the uptake, I guess, from use on council. The other use we had considered was potentially council, we do have our parade vehicle, and we do go to parades. A staff member has to drive the existing parade truck, drive the council member through the parade, and then drive it back. And that's a staff cost as well, and the truck isn't the best on mileage and even just speed. And so this vehicle would be one that we would be able to take. NMAX has offered to pay for the wrap, so we would wrap the vehicle completely, kind of telling the story about Raymond and solar and some of the projects we've been doing, and have it
Free advertising.
tourism, economic development,
Yeah.
Raymond Plaza, those types of banners, and potentially others. And so, it is the town of Cardston, town of Clarisson, most municipalities do have a fleet type vehicle that is used for council administration to kind of reduce those mileage costs as opportunity presents itself. And we just feel that by taking advantage of the provincial grant program that's there, it's a great opportunity to try it and see what we learn.
It's kind of like the matching end table to the solar furniture that we've already purchased. I think it makes sense to go along with our net zero and electricity, fame that we've
It's just
garnered.
But
a
I'm a
very
little,
nice addition.
but I'm a little concerned about the total price of both of these two projects. Do you have that, Curtis, or you?
The vehicle would be about $43,000 for that would be leased. It'd be about $6,700 a year would be the lease payment. The golf carts would be about $34,000 a year, $198,000 I think total, but that's before the rebates. And so $34,000 is without the rebates. So we'd be getting a check from the MCCAC for approximately $64,000, I believe, which is enough to pay for the first 2 years worth of lease costs. And it's not really an option. The carts our operator has spent through.
You have to replace
He's
them.
been replacing 2 to 3 a day. Towards the latter half of the year, not replacing, sorry, repairing 2 to 3 carts a day towards the latter half of the season. And the golf industry has shown that if you have the better quality carts you have, the more likely golfers are to rent them, which actually increases your revenues for the rentals, because people want to be in something that's nice and new and not duct tape seats, which is kind of what we've been running.
So with
If
this,
you're lucky, you get one with duct tape. They just have a rip in them.
would this not better be discussed at our planning session, so we can talk about these extra finances we're gonna incur?
I mean, you discussed that at committee meeting previously, and there wasn't any opposition, and so that's why we brought it to this meeting here. You can defer it, but the golf course, the intent of the golf course was to make the improvement so that the revenues of the golf course pay for the expenses of the golf course, and that it's not taxpayer subsidized. And we are over $100,000 in profit this year at the golf course. Some of that is COVID, but had our highest grossing revenue season last year before this year, and that was not COVID, and that's directly related to the improvements in the marketing and the merchandise that have been made. And so we are very confident that we can absorb those within, and that the likelihood of taxpayer dollar subsidizing the course is going to be slim to none, if not. I mean, you never know, there may be something, but it's not going to be anywhere close to what we've been doing historically.
You mentioned just building right into the golf course budget.
Yeah,
So-
that's the intent.
The golf carts.
So I mean, definitely, I'm not trying to tell council how you can defer this if you'd like. I don't really think you
Well-
have a choice personally. This is a cost that has to be replaced, no different than if the Zamboni, the ice arena was shot.
Yeah.
You'd have to replace it.
The golf carts, I agree.
I think we
Could
need
we-
to go ahead with the golf carts for sure, that's a given. But we could discuss the vehicle,
Car.
you know, that we could discuss the car.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, can we
you know?
split it up where we can
Can we
approve the
split it up,
carts and defer
or
the
is that,
vehicle till our planning meeting?
It's
is
only a
that
couple of weeks
grant
away.
all inclusive? Is that,
It can be split up. I mean, can you do that? Yes.
do you think that's wise to do it? If you don't think it's wise, then I don't think it's wise.
I mean, we discussed it at committee. There wasn't any opposition.
We didn't have
And-
any prices then,
Well-
on the car anyway.
I think, yeah, it's up to you.
To me, we've discussed the car before and we haven't approved it. I think we need to discuss it a little more in our planning, when we do our budgeting on that.
Okay.
But the golf carts, I understand what you're saying there.
That's got to happen, I believe.
Anyone else, any other thoughts from anybody?
Mayor,
Councilor Foss?
I will say, I know we've discussed these a few times, that the primary difference for me from previous discussions is that these are operational expenses, not capital, meaning they're sort of built into the operating budget of the golf course. And so I'm comfortable moving on them, but of course, that requires a majority of council for that, so.
I am too, but I'm not opposed to, deferring the car until planning session, which is only 2 weeks away.
Unless that's gonna create a problem for.
There are challenges it does present, but
Does it?
it's up to you guys.
So the challenges are applying for the grant, is that what it is?
Just timelines. Some of it is not necessarily, it's exclusive to the agreements that would be signed, and until it's signed, it's not public knowledge. And so I can talk about that maybe on a non-public session to give you some updates on as to the rationale for that. But we can defer that, when we could add a closed session, and I can discuss that tonight if you'd like.
Doesn't have to be deferred to me, for me, because
doesn't need
we
to
have talked
for
about
me
it quite a
either.
bit, so.
I mean, when you think about it, every time, if we didn't have, just for some context, we didn't go anywhere this year. COVID happened.
Yeah.
But every time council drives in their vehicle, it's 58 cents a kilometer that you're charged for the use of your vehicle. When you think about how many claims that is to get $6,700 in a year, that's not that, I mean, it's 12,000 kilometers.
And you could also use it like when you're in
Administration
bands
can
and-
potentially, yes,
yeah.
as well, 100%. And
So
so you have
really-
to schedule and book. We believe that this is a cost that can be absorbed within the budget
I
by
agree.
offsetting what we're paying out to individuals for mileage.
I agree.
Now,
I
I can't
agree. I
guarantee
think
that'll
that's a good
happen,
thing.
it's gonna depend on how well council takes up the use of it and administration in that sense, but it's something that we're paying out a substantial amount of money for mileage of personal vehicles. I don't think it's something we can't absorb administratively and with council support.
I'll just
And-
make a motion that we approve this.
And eventually, hopefully, we're gonna start going to meetings again.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You know, but as of now, that's my own concern is what, we have another year next year where there's no traveling to Hampton, there's no traveling to Calgary, there's no traveling.
But with the RAP, I
Anywhere.
think that exposure is important to us
I
too, and I
do
think
too.
that's
I
like,
do too.
that's something that we can take
But
on
if there's
the
no
road.
meetings, there's no exposure, right?
But even parades
Oh.
coming up next
Parades,
year, I
yeah.
mean, a car that will get, you know, to Colehurst for the parade
But I think-
and stuff like that.
I think you're looking a little bit too grandiose though. I mean, you drive into Lethbridge to go to Orsk's meetings or go to South Grove meetings or go to whatever. I mean, you're going, you're representing the
I
town.
guess,
You
yeah,
could be
I was
taking a
just
vehicle to any
thinking the big
committee.
meetings, right?
Right.
The big travel, but I guess if
It's
all
even
those
more
little ones
important
add
that we
up.
do that around, like, that we see that around here, you know, for meetings. I like it. I'm just
I
in
do
favor
too.
of doing it, seriously.
I just worry about finances. It just seems like we just keep spending, and I know you've talked about this, but
Yeah, no, that's fine.
that's why I'd rather just have it at a planning session where we could put it into our budget. That's my thoughts.
But I made a motion.
You did, there's a motion on the floor. You don't wanna separate it, just the one?
I don't wanna separate it.
Okay,
I think we just need to go with it. That's me.
cause I understand the golf cart one, I'm just
Yeah.
not sure
We
I
might
agree
have
with
our
the
first
car.
tie tonight.
Yeah, mine.
We're getting lots of exposure on the solar panels too.
Yeah, and that's what I
And
think we
that's
should
another
continue with
reason
that.
I
That's
think-
like impetus that we should
Yeah.
keep.
I think that it's.
That exposure
I
is
just
really
wasn't
important.
thinking of using it to go to Lethbridge to a meeting, like, but I guess you could, right? Or you would,
And maybe should,
and should.
yeah.
I'm always running late, so I'll probably take my own still.
Yeah.
And, yeah, exactly, depending on the situation, right?
And that's why, you know, can we guarantee? No. But the cost to the town will be minimal if there is a cost, but there's a potential for it to actually save money.
Somebody will use it and save us some money, I believe.
I think it'll get
Absolutely.
used enough.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, so, I'd rather see it divided, but it's not, so. Anyway, so, any other discussion? And I'll call the vote, all in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay,
She was kinda looking forward to a tie.
what's that?
I was looking forward to our first tie.
Our
Yeah,
tie
we
is a
haven't,
defeat.
we haven't had one yet.
I think this is a smart move, I really do.
Okay, 6.9, the 2020 Remembrance Day Ceremony,
6.8,
oh, did I miss one?
Sorry.
No?
6.8
Oh, yeah,
should
I'm
be
sorry,
less than
I did miss that, 6.8, investing in Canada's infrastructure program. Go ahead, Curtis, on this one.
So administration and council have discussed this repeatedly over the last couple of years with respect to the wastewater system expansion. In 2014, the town of Raymond submitted a grant application to the Alberta Municipal Water Wastewater Partnership to expand our wastewater sewage lagoons. That has been in the queue, basically waiting funding as it's bumped up the ladder since then. The cost breakdown on that program was about a 50% split, where the town was on the hook for just over 50% of the expansion costs, and the province would pay for the other 50, just under 50%. That was going to cost the town between $3 and $4 million. We didn't like that percentage, and so in 2018 we approached council for permission to submit a grant application to the Investing in Canada infrastructure program that the federal government had released. And council gave that approval. We submitted the application, and February of 2020-ish, we were told that the province had approved the application as a provincial priority to be submitted to the federal government for their consideration. And the first attachment there is just showing a copy of a letter that was received that basically is approving the town of Raymond for a $3.2 million contribution from the federal government. The province will be on the hook for $2.666666 million, and the town is responsible for $2.1334 million, which works out to approximately 26%, I believe. So it's substantially less from the 50% plus that we were at before. So what this is going to do, the original proposal was to basically just expand and renovate our existing sewage lagoon system. so that we'd have more capacity. Our existing system is built for a population of 4,000. We are over that number now. We've been able to manage it though due to an overall reduction in water consumption that the town has been able to implement through various measures over the years, and also just residents putting in higher efficiency toilets and faucets and fixtures within their home. After this process had started, a third party approached the town of Raymond with a proposal that was different, a method of treatment that was supposed to save us approximately half of the cost of what we were on the hook for. And so administration felt there was some due diligence that was required to give this some time and effort. And so we've researched it, looked into it, talked with Alberta Environment, did a site visit, a pilot of this technology up in Crossfield. Council was aware of this and directed us to do this. And after reviewing this, there was too many questions that were left unanswered. The technology I don't think is proven yet. It may be something that we can look at in 20 years' time. But there was too many questions, and so administration made an executive decision based on council's direction to determine what was best to not proceed with this, because there was the likelihood of there being cost overruns and being in that same ballpark and still not having the capacity we need to go forward was too prevalent. And so this is just bringing this to your attention that we are wanting to proceed again with the original plan, which is to renovate our existing sewage lagoons and expand them, and so that we have capacity for future population growth. And so what we're looking for, I guess, is a motion from council, and we'll answer any questions you may have on things ahead of time, just directing administration to proceed with the original grant proposal as presented. And the other thing is the town is on the hook, thanks Abe for bringing up this attachment. There is a $2.1 million contribution that the town is required to pay. The recommendation from administration to finance it is listed there. In 2019, council instituted a utility reserve on every utility bill. The intent of this reserve was to go towards funding and replacement of new or existing infrastructure related to water, sewer, and solid waste utilities. And it brings in approximately $300,000 annually. In 2019, we used the first year of that money to replace the garbage truck, which did not have to come out of capital grant dollars that we get from the province, which allowed it to go to other council priorities. We're proposing that we utilize that same $300,000 utility reserve and fund it to pay off the debenture cost that the town will have to take out to fund this improvement. Best case scenario, we're anticipating tenders will go out and construction starts in spring of 2021. It will take 2 years minimum to complete, probably 3. And so as we collect the utility reserve in 2020, 2021, 2022, and potentially into 2023, that's going to equate to about 1.2 million of the 2.1 million that were required, and we'll be able to pay that as we go and not probably have to debenture the full 2.1 million. We're going to try and leverage the province's money, which we'll get up front, start the project, and then submit claims to the federal government, get them to reimburse us, and use that cash flow to try and get us through as much of it as we can, while allowing us to collect that annual reserve to pay for the town's portion. And so the attempt is to minimize the total amount that we'll have to debenture for this project. But we are confident that we can do it within the town's debt limits. This will not have any implication at all whatsoever on tax rates, because it is funded through the utility reserve, and that was the whole intent of that being added to the utility bill, which I understand nobody likes, I don't either.
But it was a smart move.
But
I'm glad we did it.
A means to fund infrastructure ahead of time to reduce the capital demand on debt in the future. And so we're just looking for a motion basically to proceed with this. The next step will be the acquiring of the land and directing the contractors to start, or to continue on, the engineering firm, Associated Engineering, to continue on with the design, build, tender process. And the goal is to start in 2021.
So I was curious to see how your visit was to Crossfield, but you said it was too many unanswered questions.
I mean, so what the concept of Crossfield is, instead of building, basically duplicating the lagoon system that we have, it would basically just renovate what we have and then add a straddle plant that would be in between the cells. And so it would be basically adding a filtration membrane, a membrane filtration system that would treat the treated waste so that it would be at a higher quality faster. Because the existing system we have, basically it goes through some anaerobic and aerobic facultative cells, which bacteria eat the waste and help to clean things up, and then it goes into a storage pond and then goes into another storage pond. And time and sunlight basically does the process of cleaning the wastewater to a point where it can be discharged. We have to keep 365 days of waste, and we're allowed to discharge for 3 weeks annually. And so the volume is the concern we have right now. We're growing and we don't have necessarily the volume. We do have an adjacent farmer that is allowed to irrigate with that water, and that helps tremendously. But on years where we have lots of rain and our capacity in our lagoon is a challenge because of the rain, he doesn't need to irrigate because he's had a lot of rain. And so what we're trying to do is find a way to mitigate that. Now, if the straddle plan option worked, we could be releasing constantly, pretty much for the 150 days, plus that the irrigation system has water in its discharge network, or its distribution network. But that would require license changes. It would require at least a year-long study for a receiving waters assessment. The Alberta environment would have to determine what our classification of plant would be. They wouldn't see it as a small system, they would see it as a mechanized plant. And then there's a whole bunch more cost implications annually for operating and for reporting. Our argument was that it's neither. It's kind of a straddle plant, and we're just discharging water that would have been allowed to be discharged anyway. We're just doing it faster. And so we'd have to work through the bureaucratic process of getting Alberta Environment to determine what it's actually to be classified and have a change to our code of practice, which would take, best case scenario, a year. So we're 2 years down the road before we're even starting. And the federal government had indicated that they'll be willing to work with us if that's the route we decide to go, but the intent and the province for this funding was to get employment now, working now, money spent now into the economy. And if we were to delay, then we would have to reapply, and although it's slim, there is a chance that it might not be approved. And so with those risks, and the other thing is the proposal that they presented on the crossfield option, the model they have, it's the very first model they built. It's not even big enough to handle the volume of water, so the quote they provided wasn't necessarily accurate anyway. And the company that was actually created it was up there and did us on the tour, and they had mentioned that the next phase that they're going to be doing is going to have the cylinders vertically instead of horizontally, because it's going to be able to increase the treatment capacity at less energy, which sounds great, but our contribution is going to be financing their phase 2 prototype almost, and it just, it's too soon, too early, too soon, too late for us to feel comfortable going down that path.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is if we're going to look at alternative methods, there's probably 10 or 12 other methods that we could look at doing for treatment that we haven't done due diligence at doing, and we need to start, basically. And so I think that's something that we can consider doing at the next phase of expansion, but
More
not at this time.
technologies are better and more proven.
Yeah, and this one could be proven, and it's not to say it can't be a tremendous option, because it can. It's used currently in the oil industry right now on a much larger volume. They're just trying to expand their market, and they do have that pilot at Crossfields and at the Edmonton Airport. But and it's been promising, but it's just not quite proven enough yet for us to feel comfortable recommending.
Okay.
Smart decision, I think.
I think so too.
So what you're saying, you don't wanna get 2 years down the road and say, oh, this is not gonna work.
And then have to start over, or
And then we have
start.
to, and we have to
And
start
then start,
then.
and this funding might not be there in 2 years.
Yeah.
The other concern was the straddle plan option that's being proposed by West Earth Sciences. It's going to have annual operating costs that'll be far greater is a relative term, but will be more than what we're paying now for our treatment. So we're going to save on our capital program, but we're going to increase our operating costs. Our operating costs are funded through taxes. Our capital program is funded through these utility reserves.
That's backwards.
We can fund it more efficiently and have less implication on tax dollars, but it does mean that we probably will have to debenture more than if we did go this route. But the difference will be is that instead of having interest and principal payments for a short period of time, we're having perpetual operating expenses going forward. So I don't think the business case works at this time. At some point when we have to go fully mechanized, that's a different conversation, but we'll push that out as long as possible because it's far cheaper to do it this way.
Okay,
Okay.
I agree.
so we need a motion then. go forward with this. Councillor Fromm makes that motion. Any other discussion?
Just a quick question, the province, did they originally agree to more before the federal government took on a chunk of this?
No, they
So
were on the hook, well,
They're only paying 33% of it now.
I think it was close. The total amount we asked for originally in 2014 was only like $5.6 million, not 8. We've decided to increase the lift station expansion as well. And we didn't want, historically with the South Drainage Project, we submitted an application that was about as budget as we could to accomplish what we needed. And we had to stretch to make things work. We noticed other communities didn't seem to take that approach and asked for the moon and got it, and didn't have the challenges that they had to finish. And so we just felt, let's ask for what we need to do it comfortably, and if we get it, great. If not, no harm, no foul. And if we don't have to spend it all, we obviously won't, because we have to be able to justify the cost, otherwise we won't get reimbursed. So we asked for a larger amount the second time for the Investing in Canada program, from 5.6 to 8 million, and we got approval for that. But either way, we're going from $3 to $4 million of contribution to 2.1. So we've effectively cut the town's portion in half.
That's great.
Okay, we have a motion. Any other discussion? Then all in favor? Okay, good. 6.9, the 2020 Remembrance Day Ceremony. I was gonna bring this up, but you already had it included.
So nothing's normal in 2020, but we still felt that we wanted to make sure that a Remembrance Day ceremony was being held. The Remembrance Day Ceremony Committee kind of got together, and this is the discussion. There won't be an indoor service at the Cultural Hall. It'll just be at the Cenotaph. We're going to be closing down Main Street to traffic starting at 10. We closed down a portion of it last year, but cars were still driving close, and it did distract from the experience. And so at 10 o'clock, we're gonna start putting up barricades at the post office intersection coming south on Broadway and north of the Buddhist church, or south of the Buddhist church coming north on Broadway. And then on the west side on Church Avenue at the lane, just before the access to the parking lot laneway area behind the Merc and the other businesses on the west side. And then the same thing on the east side of Park Avenue, just before the laneway, so that if vehicles do come down that road and it is shut off, they can take the accesses of the alleys and still move on. We'll still allow traffic to flow through between 10 and once it gets closer, but we are recommending that we do, council give permission to close down Main Street during that time. We do feel that most of the businesses will be supportive, and we'll let them know so they can be prepared. The service will start at 10:45. They'd like to ask the mayor if he'd be willing to give a few remarks, and if a couple of councillors could be there to lay wreaths. Minister Hunter, I believe, will be in attendance as well, and so he'll be laying a wreath. And so we're just looking for your approval of this as it's laid out.
I just have one question, Curtis.
Yep.
I'm okay with shutting down the streets like that, but what about the veterans that it's hard for them to walk?
Well, they'll be shuttled in.
So we'll still allow that?
Those
Okay.
people will be allowed to have access to get them there.
Okay,
There will be access for an ambulance to be on site as well, that will be allowed within that area, but it'll just be restricted to pedestrian traffic, and that'll allow us to social distance and space out. The bleachers will be on the roadways, so now that the trees are gone, there's more space on the grounds themselves. We will have some tents set up, and we'll rent some portable heaters, just so that the veterans can be a bit warmer while they're participating.
okay.
So to add to this, you saw the letter from Jim Bennett about the man who is going to fly a Harvard. They're doing it in Lethbridge, and so they're gonna come here. So they're gonna fly
Fantastic.
down Main Street, and they're gonna do it at exactly at 11 there, and they'll just continue on to Raymond. So he said really it's gonna take him
10
5 minutes to get to Raymond, So it will be quite soon after 11, so I don't know if we just wanna pretend that we are gonna delay ours. I don't know how we wanna work that, but I thought it sounded kinda awesome, so,
Yeah, it
His
does.
You know?
deed always says it's 11 o'clock when I say it's 11.
that's
Yeah,
right.
it does say that.
It's 11 o'clock when he says it's 11 o'clock, so anyways, I
love
thought that
this.
was kinda cool.
I think
thought,
closing
well,
up
you know,
streets should be
why
a
not?
tradition too.
For
Yeah,
sure.
really,
And we will,
a
we are
Harvard.
potentially looking at trying to live stream it as well, so we'll see, so that people can watch from home if
Yeah.
they like, so.
I think it's a great
That'd be
idea,
great, 'cause I have
to-
to work.
it's a great idea to stop the traffic. There's a big crowd comes there.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to
Yeah.
get
And we should, for Remembrance
Yeah.
Day, I think that's a good thing.
Sure.
I do too. So good job on that. It's, you will be
and,
there.
and now that we have the tree gone, you could, yeah, we can, you know, put bleachers on two
Just portable,
different,
Yeah, way more.
you
Accessible
can
space.
accommodate, you know, more
A lot of
people.
people. It's
And
social distance.
And they can social distance to their heart's desire.
So who has to let Jim know, or is it Jim?
I already told
So
him
you
that,
go ahead.
yeah, I
Good.
told him that, yeah, we absolutely want that, you know. I mean, he thought we would, but he thought, because in Lethbridge, they are not doing anything. They really aren't doing much,
Except for this one.
except for
flag.
that. And so I said, well, we're doing, I hadn't even seen this, but I said, we are doing something, even if we just have to do it ourselves, but we'll be doing something. And so I said, yeah, we want
Great.
that, so that's good.
So do you need a motion right now to close the streets, or you wanna?
If you would mind, it's at a council
Yeah, I'll
meeting,
make
we
that
don't have to
motion.
try and get it in next time.
For sure. Counselor Hagee makes that motion. Any other motion you need in this?
Nope.
Just that one?
Yeah, and just to proceed as presented, kind of a thing.
Okay. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, we'll move on to 6.11. 6.10 is the same as 6.9, so 6.11.
You forgot 6.10.
Sorry, you wanted, yeah, sorry.
Do you want to do beautification now or at the end?
Either or.
It's right there, 6.11 Beautification Committee.
Oh, mine says 6.10.
Refresh your screen there, Mayor.
Oh.
Oh, so you, okay.
6.10's been taken off, I think.
I think at one point we had 2 Remembrance Days on there,
Yeah,
so.
So 6.10 is now beautification committee request.
okay, we'll move to that one, Beautification Committee request.
Okay, I tried to talk the beautification committee into coming, but they're quite shy.
They're busy.
I
They're
find
quite
that hard
shy.
to believe, know who the president is.
Bunch of shrinking violets.
So anyways, they, you know, they have a few asks. I mean, they're trying to they wanna get a big tree again. They may have somebody that will cut them one down, but then they don't know how they'll get it here, so she said, at the very worst, they have a tree that they can get for $200. What they're trying to do, which I think is really cool, if you look at the next proposal, which is the seasonal banners,
Yeah.
they're gonna get brackets that can do, I think they're 2 foot by 4 foot banners. And eventually what they would like to do is that these seasonal banners will be changed on a regular basis. So they'll be like, you know, any season,
Summertime,
they'll be like a,
springtime, fall.
you know, Christmas, spring, fall.
Like Canada Day, like on
Canada
holidays, right?
Day,
Beautiful.
yeah, they might, you know, whatever. So, but first they need the brackets, and, you know, they're kind of expensive. I did say, I don't know what resources the town has. I mean, they just have the resources that they have. I don't know if, maybe somebody from Public Works can get a better deal on brackets. I thought they were pretty expensive, but they would like to just start with some, as many as they could, and then add to them, but eventually they would like to have up and down all of Main Street, every single pole with seasonal brackets, and
I'd like to
change
see
those
that too.
on a regular
It
basis.
all costs money.
Yeah.
It all costs money, but they just wanna start with something and then, but if they got 20, that's $1,800. But you know, they can start with 10 or they can start with whatever, and I just said, just give us the prices and we'll kind of
So
go
that's
from
the
there.
price of the bracket
That's
itself,
the price of the
and then
brackets,
the banners would be a price on top of
and
that.
they wanna put up some banners this year, whatever they can do and get. And I will say that, you know, a lot of what they do is, they have a lot of things that are donated, like all those pumpkins were donated. That big huge pumpkin they had donated by, I think that might have been
Yeah.
Brian
It was.
Bass. Yeah, so they do get a lot of donations, and so, you know, I just thought it's been kind of a miserable year. Maybe we
May-
should try and spend a little bit of money and brighten
Maybe
up
they could
the
talk
season a
to,
bit.
or someone could talk to, the guy that's opening up the new welding place for Dakota, well, maybe he can weld up some brackets cheaper.
Crane and
Oh
Henry.
my heck, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Crane and whatever.
Crane and Henry.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know if he,
is there, do they have a $1,000 credit, is that what that says?
Yeah, they
Is that
have,
from a
they
couple
have,
years ago?
the reason they're talking about that is, they have $1,000 credit because one of those Christmas
I remember.
decorations was actually, it came wrong. And so they gave them $1,000 credit for that, so they're kind of trying to use that up, but you know, they could use it up and get 2 more of those, the big stars, you know what I'm saying? So they don't need to use that. I mean, if they can get these, they're not looking for the decorative ones. If you scroll down to page,
It's the last one.
yeah, the last page, they just want a straight black, that. They don't want decorative, they just want a straight black thing for the.
that's why I
the
say maybe
banners.
this guy can
Maybe.
make something up
Hey,
even cheaper.
I forgot about that guy. Do you know anything about that guy?
I don't know. That's,
Okay.
I mean, that's something to be looked at. It's gonna probably be a timing thing, cause this
He's
needs to
not-
happen now.
he's
If
not
you're trying to
moving
get it
in?
up for Christmas.
He's not moving in right now?
No, I'm not sure, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if we're gonna order it, or if he's gonna construct it, he's gonna
Yeah.
have to fabricate it now for it to have the banners to get there and have a time for it to get
Yeah,
up for
yeah, for
Christmas.
sure,
It might
sure.
be worth getting by
Mayor.
and then fabricating after.
Yeah, yeah.
Counselor Foss has got a comment?
Just gonna say, they have these all over campus at the U of L. I love them because they add sort of a festive, thing for, I think, a relatively low cost.
Yeah.
And I look at events in town, so let's say we're hosting the summer games, you know, if we could throw a little money at getting some banners and say, welcome competitors, whatever, and throw those up.
Yeah.
That's a way to sort of roll out the red carpet for, some of our sports tourism initiatives, so
And
I
that's-
generally like it.
That's exactly what they said. It can be, they can change it every month if you want.
How
I mean,
much
you know,
are-
it takes a
yeah.
little bit of time, but
Just
not
didn't read it.
really. I mean, you could
I'd like to
change
see
it
them
for
replace
every
the summer flowers that don't have to be
event.
watered, they don't have to be fertilized.
Oh, they still want flowers. You must
Plastic's a
admit,
great way
the
to go there,
flowers
Rod.
do look awesome.
Plastic, artificial flowers go a long way.
Oh, no.
Sacrilege.
But I think the banners are
Okay, there.
Yes,
fantastic.
I
And
do.
I think they're
I
a
do.
worthy replacement for flowers, and they do not have to be watered.
Yeah, true,
Well, I mean, I think they both can be accommodated by
yeah,
the way it's set up, so
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
flower would just hang from the bottom of the bottom pole, bottom.
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
And,
But I
you
think
know,
this is a great idea, and it's a great way to use up $1,000 credit, you know, I mean, heck,
yeah.
you might as well
Yeah,
use
I
it.
mean, there are other things that they could get for the $1,000 credit, like I said, the extra shooting star decorations or whatever.
I like
If
these
we can
better
get
than
this
shooting
from a
stars.
guy,
I do
Council
too.
I like these way
does
better
have,
than stars.
space
Easier to
in their
store, too.
budget for their council budget for the seminars and travel, that you haven't allocated, cause you haven't gone anywhere. So I'm pretty sure you could fund their requests through a council budget line item if you
Wow.
wanted to. But that's up to you to decide.
Well, like everything costs money, I'm not
Everything
sure.
costs money.
I'm not sure where we're at with our budget, that's why I was kinda wanting to see in a couple of weeks where we're at.
What I like about these banners too is that they don't take up very much storage.
And the
Yeah.
Like
maintenance
when
free.
you change them in and out, you can just basically roll them up.
and
Those stars
hopefully they
stick out
won't get
big.
eaten by the mice like the 14 years ago when we got, when Bobby Ackroyd, the artist, did,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Now, are they
When
looking to
Kay and I
get,
were on the committee, we got these awesome banners and
They're massive.
somehow the mice ate them. I don't even know where they got stored, but that was the end of that, so
I
we'll
just
take
wanna,
better care of them.
I just wanna add this beautification committee sure tries hard to make our
Yeah, they
town
do.
For sure.
They do.
look nice.
And I was gonna mention, you know, they don't get very many accolades, but somebody needs to at least write on the, somewhere, thank you for all the volunteers and for the people who, you know, they have people that donate their time and, you know, the pumpkins and, you know, they get people to participate, and that's exactly what we want. We want people to participate in, we want them to take ownership of how our town and our Main Street looks. And that's really what these guys are doing, so we
So
just want
we
some-
could start with just getting like Christmas banners right now, and then.
Oh, yeah,
And then we
that's what
can
they're
worry
saying.
about that.
Oh,
So
yeah, they're
Get
just
banners for
saying.
every holiday, we do in like a 3-year,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't have to
It
purchase
doesn't have to
everything
be
like
all
right
at
now.
once, but,
Good point.
yeah.
You know,
So how much do they need right now and for what again?
Well, they need the tree, you know.
Yeah.
You know what? Any money that you will give them, they
They
will
will
make
use.
do with it. You know what I'm saying?
But
But,
for the banners and the, what are we
the,
looking at,
The tree's
$1,800?
$200, the banner, the size they're choosing would be $650 for, 10 to 23 ounce outdoor vinyl seasonal banners that are 24 by 48 inches, so 2 by 4 feet. And then
10 of them?
10 of them is what they're
Yeah.
asking for $650 is the size that they're asking. And the mounting hardware is $1,879.
but that's for 20. And they were just gonna do that so that they could use up that,
Yeah.
that credit that they had. But it would still cost $800 beyond that, so
Would
they
20,
could just,
would 20 be
I think-
enough for the whole 2 blocks?
I think
Where we don't have to
20
purchase more next year?
I think 20 does the whole. Is
Like
there
how
more
much
than 20 poles?
I think you're gonna have 20 on the 2 blocks of Main Street.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so I just said, give us the numbers and we'll go from
So the
there.
$2,500
the
is
650
roughly-
goes to 1,300 then, and then you got the 1,800 for the.
But you know, I really like the idea of at least checking with this guy. I mean, he must be in business somewhere else, so
The-
I can find out his name from Matt Baines and at least find out if he could do it.
Joan, am I looking at this right? Is the banners and the hardware from the same place? I don't think so. 'cause
I
the
don't think so.
hardware-
No,
I
they're
mean,
not.
It's got a $1,880 price for 20,
Yeah, that's.
$200 for the powder coating, and then $500 for delivery and GST. So your
Yes.
total's $1,879, but that's not including your $1,000 credit. So
That's
that's gonna
right.
knock that
That's
down to
right.
$879.
Yeah.
So
879.
Yeah.
you're looking at $2,500 for doubling your banners
Yeah,
if you wanted the 20.
yeah.
And that plus the tree, roughly. And you probably got $15,000 minimum, $12,000 minimum in your council budget that you haven't done for seminars and travel for those types of things. Every line item, Mayor Depew, that we talked about on that previous year to date, Councilor Fromm was right, you know, if you're at that 75-80% ratio,
Yeah.
you're kind of on budget for where your expenses should be, and we have some that are under, and we've brought in more revenue in other places. So overall, we do have the capacity to absorb this within a budget that would have been spent you attending AUMA or these other things. And once it's purchased, it's there.
So this is a $2,500, what you said.
I would say roughly in that range. Just as context, Councillor Foss, I know that, I don't know if the TDC directly, but I know, I believe you guys have been looking at banners on Main Street as part of the redevelopment of Main Street. And so I know that that's been something that's been, Greg has spent time working on a proposal for that, so I'm sure he'd love to work with your committee on that as well.
Okay,
Two birds
great.
with one stone.
Yeah, banners have definitely been discussed at that committee
Yes.
too.
Okay. Well, this is a lot different than 43,000 for a car, so.
Well, I just sort of told them, whatever
Over
we
5
are,
years.
whatever we are
Over
given,
time.
we can make do with. And if we can get, I mean, we'll quickly talk to the guy who's opening a business down here, and if he can do something, then
Well, I mean, ideally, you're gonna want
we'll Jimmy
banners,
rig that.
you're gonna want
That's
banners
him?
down Highway 52
Okay.
and down, cause that's where you're bringing people in, right? So
Yeah,
there really is no
eventually.
100 North, I mean, there's no end that you could do this if you wanted to, where our
Yeah.
recreation facilities are, and potentially this other individual in town could provide a much more affordable option that's local, which is fantastic, but you can grow into that by utilizing the, credit, gets you started on Main Street, I think is a great opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think
Well-
we just order these ones and get them going, and then maybe in the future, as we go more, he can maybe make
Yeah.
something at a different price.
So we need a motion to do this for the beautification committee?
I'll move.
I make that motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Counselor
Can I just
Foss
have
makes the
someone on
motion.
council specify the dollar amount?
As much as you'll give, yeah.
Which is why I want someone to specify the dollar
Not
amount.
the coffers.
What was the dollar amount? Like
I'll say
$3,000?
$3,000.
I was just
I'm
saying
gonna
up
go
to
way out on the
$3,000.
limb. $3,000.
When I did my
Yeah,
Going
so my
once,
motion is
going
$3,000 for beautification.
I was gonna say 2,500, but that's so dang
Three
close.
my
3,000.
math, it was 3,200, and your math, it was 25, so. But you had numbers in front of you, I was just going by memory.
That'd be
We
ecstatic with
can
that
pull it up.
amount of money. And they'll use it wisely, I'm sure.
They will use it very wisely, I promise you. They're very,
We've got a couple of talented welders in town too that could probably do
I
something
know.
really nice, you know?
yeah.
$200 for the tree. $650 for the 10 banners, so $1,300 if you got 20, so you're at $1,500. $1,800 roughly for the hardware, but you minus 1,000, so
23.
23?
So
3,000 bucks is.
I think
GST
3,000 gives you a
shipping.
little wiggle room.
Yeah.
Well,
You-
in their defense,
Give
and
them some
in
wiggle
the
room.
defense of watering flowers, they they want to replace all those containers that are falling up to pieces. You know, these self-watering flower things that they have out here, they wanna replace those all up and down Main Street, starting next year, so, you know, any extra money will be wisely spent, so just
It will.
keep that in mind. That was part of this, but we didn't put it up here, cause that's way next spring, so
It's a $3,000 motion, Councilor
it's a
Fox.
$3,000 motion.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm voting for it.
Me too.
so, any discussion on this? Then all in favor? Okay, good.
Thank you, they'll be ecstatic.
Good old beautification committee.
They were scared to come because they don't wanna ask for money. Isn't that interesting? They're like,
They-
oh, we
they
don't
do a
wanna
good
ask
job.
for money.
And they got
Like,
their husbands working too.
I
and, you
know, they're
yeah.
really, and, yeah, it's sad to lose Tiffany Assion, cause they're moving, so they're looking for somebody to replace her on the committee, so anyways. If anybody knows somebody that wants to be on the beautification committee, let me know.
Okay, we'll move to the delegation follow-up, the pantries. This is very interesting discussion by Jackie. Sounds like something that our community needs.
I missed the first part of that. So she wants that at a community center, from what I understand. Is that correct?
There's one
And she wants it
indoor,
indoor and outdoor, okay.
So they
The,
would
the
give back
intent is to
like-
consolidate to 2 locations, one being the clinic, and I think they're pursuing permission there. And then they would vacate the senior center and consolidate to the community center. And part of that being that they need 4-season location, a place that they can have cans around here.
and the Eagles are gonna build it and pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eagle's generously paying for the materials and providing the labor to build them.
Councilor Peters has a question.
Oh, Councilor Peters.
Thanks, Mayor. Question I have is just location. I think it's a great idea. Location of the pantries. Is the back door to the community center the best location based on public access, or would it be better in the rotunda somewhere inside there?
I can tell you the logic behind the request for the back door, which is that use of the pantries that is generally something that's done discreetly, and so the thinking for the back door was that it's a place that people could go to use them without being visibly using them, and that was the only intent there.
It makes good sense.
So I assume that'll just be during business hours, the indoor one, right?
The indoor one.
Outdoor one, it'll be accessed whenever.
Okay. So, yeah, I thought this was a great idea. Need a motion for this one? For the
I'll make it
pantries?
since I voted out on them last year. I'm voting for it this year. I'm just glad they didn't have any negative experiences, and they didn't, so they.
And I understood why you voted against it last year, I almost did,
Yeah.
but I understood why
I'm
you did.
genuinely worried about
Yeah.
them, seriously.
So Councilor Fromm makes that motion. Any other discussion? And all in favor? Okay, good. The skate park. This is something that we've, like I said, we've talked about, like every planning session we talk about. I'm sure could talk about it at our next planning session. It's hard to really commit to a site right now, but I think we do wanna commit to trying to work with this committee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's impetus there.
I'm excited that they wanna make this community, or make this association,
Exactly.
whatever.
So that it's not
Yeah.
us trying
'Cause I
to
always
figure
felt
it
before,
out.
it's like,
'Cause
build
we
a skate park, but
Yeah.
we don't want to have any input, right?
But we don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So they know where to start. You know what I mean? I wouldn't know where to start, you know?
And I wouldn't have any idea of how
Yeah.
to build one, like a design, like what's good and what's not good, and
That's why he wants input from somebody like that.
That's
yeah,
why
so
it's
why you
so
want the input.
awesome
That's
that they're
That's
willing.
what's exciting.
I wonder if they
Fair.
know how much work it is to do a society.
Councillor Foss?
Yeah, full disclosure, I met with these guys this last week, and I've known a lot of these guys since high school, and I think they're like, they've been skating for 30 years. They're committed to do this, and I was excited to see a group of people in the community that would get together and back it. They're excited to fundraise, and I think that will help us go a long way towards getting there. And I think we all know the realities of the budget challenges and stuff, but having an engaged group in the community, I was excited to be approached by them, so.
I think we need to talk about this more at our planning session,
Yeah, this is a good thing
For
to
sure.
put on that
For
agenda.
sure.
Yeah, we can talk, try to specifically have a spot for it, so like they said, then they can plan, fundraise for it. Okay, is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the dog licensing, the service dogs. This is very interesting, I had no idea about this one. Something I think that we should be doing, just like the other communities are waiving those fees for
Well,
service
it's
dogs.
not like there's a lot of them,
For sure.
like 3 in town.
3.
This is interesting because I actually have 2 family members that have comfort dogs.
You do?
I'm like, I do. Interesting.
So it could,
There's
Now, I'm not
more,
a dog person, so it's way out of my wheelhouse, but,
Is a comfort dog a service dog too?
yeah, but they have to be, like she said, they have hours and hours
you
of.
just can't call your
You
dog
can't
service
just call it a
dog.
comfort dog. You have to have like a prescription, and you have to have a licensed comfort dog. And they can go on a plane with you or wherever you go.
And I
And
think
I'm
there's
like,
more than 3 in
really?
town.
You think there's more than 3 in
Yeah.
town? I don't know, but I have no
I can think of
trouble
4.
with,
So
Well, if they can go on a plane, then we sure in the heck should let them be in Raymond.
I thought it was really
I'm
interesting.
in agreement with her, that's not a big,
No, that's not a big
Ask
ask, no.
It was big of her to come in and do this.
I know,
Mhm.
I could tell she was really nervous.
Anybody, Councillor Foss?
I was just gonna say, I'm also in favor of doing this. It seems like such a tiny thing
Yeah.
to help out
Yeah.
people in that situation. If I'm not mistaken, there's work going into the dog bylaw right now on a different front, and so perhaps this could all sort of be bundled.
she mentioned 2 bylaws that we'll have to look at,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
and you probably got those, didn't you, Dave?
Yeah, I
Good
did.
job, I
Okay,
knew it.
My spidey senses were tingling.
oh, good.
so the bylaw committee can look at them, and then we'll look at the waiving the service fees when it comes to January for the new year.
Yeah, we'll have the user fees and schedule, user fees and charges schedule probably brought to council in November for initial review,
Okay.
and then approval in December, so.
Okay,
Beautiful.
good. So we'll move on to committee reports. I submitted one more, Curtis, you didn't get mine on here, another one. I did one on Ridge Country Housing too.
Nice to see reports, you 2, good job. I did one once.
They did one
I
once
have
too.
it, or I didn't put it on I didn't submit it,
That's
but
exactly what I was gonna say, I did one once.
I don't have
We
it.
just had this for mayor's meeting yesterday, and it was really interesting.
That's very interesting.
I don't really have it.
So I was excited when Cardston and Cardston County came to our mayor's meetings, and they were, I don't know who invited them, I don't know if it was
Cardston.
Curtis. What's that?
Town of Cardston asked if the county could come.
So, and they were saying that they wanted a press release of those two, Carson and Carson County, having their ICF agreement completed. And I just thought that was great, because that's something that our
Wow.
county needs to see, as other counties and towns are getting it done.
And I especially like the fact that they found these two very fair, these people that they worked with.
Okay, so you read mine pretty good. Yeah, they found the auditor.
Where is yours?
Yeah,
They
I don't-
didn't,
I don't
mine's
have
not
it.
populating. It's not populating.
It's just go to committee reports where it
I
has the,
am, but it's not.
and it's not there?
I keep refreshing, but it's not here. Is yours there?
Nope. I
Yeah,
I
mine's
just have your name there, nothing else.
Yep.
If I click on your name,
Tell
nothing
us
happens.
about it.
Not on the name, click on the other, the council
This?
reports,
Oh, okay.
right there. It'll come up.
Oh,
Ah,
committee
there we go.
report.
Okay, I see. I thought.
Committee
okay.
report,
Committee
I see
reports,
it.
I'm
It's
sorry.
not under your name. Okay, good.
Okay.
I see it now.
So, yeah, we talked about that, we talked about the tourism. 3 of them opted out, we're the only ones still with Badlands, and so Trevor Lewington's here, and he was talking about, he's been meeting, and I guess Greg has too, with Lethbridge Tourism, and they want to expand, so they want to have us be looking into this, that's something we wanna be doing.
And Lethbridge Tourism was very eager to cross-promote our drive-ins.
Excellent.
Their hotels were, the province was pushing this, and the hotel in Lethbridge were very interested because of the amount of traffic coming down all of a sudden.
It's a
And
natural
they're like, what,
partnership.
you know, why are you here? Well, we're going to Raymond. And it was 90% of the people that came weren't from the area. Right? So they probably were
Wow,
part of a
that's
hotel
awesome.
stay.
So that money could be better spent with Lethbridge Tourism.
Oh, big time, yeah, big time. So, and then you saw the other reports. The other one that was interesting was this MOST grant. I didn't know anything about it, but, so the 4 communities plus the county, they just talked about different things they could do to apply for the money, the revenue that was missed because of COVID. So there's more money out there that we might be getting. Correct, Curtis?
Yeah, no, at a previous council meeting, we had a attachment on there. The town got about $434,000 that it's gonna help reimburse revenue losses for the year. So we have to submit under these certain criteria what we're applying for it for, and then how we're gonna spend it. And so we have some proposals that we'll bring into committee in the near future to consider.
Okay, good.
Great.
Anyways, a very interesting meeting with the 4 mayors in the county, so.
So
Any
I
other-
just one question, so was the county of Cardston as happy with the mediator as the town of Cardston?
They were both very happy.
Really?
They thought it was very good mediator.
Yeah, one of the 2 mediators that we've hired is worked on the Cardston County file. The other one we have didn't. And so, but
Yeah.
they were both very, very pleased. And from
Oh, good.
their conversations, the one that is on ours that was on theirs was the one driving the ship anyway. So they were very pleased with that.
So we
Great.
asked if we should request that one, and they said yes, so we will ask.
So
Great.
I had a meeting with them yesterday, a Zoom meeting, both of them, and I think we'll be very happy with both of them. So
Good.
Good, good. Wow.
there's a joint
Okay.
meeting between the county and Sean and myself tomorrow, or Thursday, sorry. And then meetings probably will be starting with the committee early November, if not end of October.
Good,
Great.
okay.
Let's move forward.
Anyone else will have anything to report that's not on here besides Councillor Computers and myself?
And we'll
Yes.
update the committee report for the record with your Rich Country comments. So.
So the Ridge Country, I just talked, I can't remember what I wrote. Do you have that? Can you pop it up? I think this is important for people to see too. Joan and I went to a meeting in, Councillor Harker and I went to a meeting in Milk River on Thursday, and there were some important things.
Just give me a second, Jim.
Didn't bring it all up, Joan, or Councillor Harker, because we
Oh.
can't talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if we did, well, I wouldn't want to talk about some stuff.
So you said your budget's basically as projected, except for the new COVID expenses, those over budget expenses requested by provincial government for reimbursement. A letter from the government discussing about amalgamating with different seniors housing authorities, discussed our reasons why this idea was not in Rich Country's housing's best interest, and you're drafting a letter. And Ridgeview Lodge has some vacant rooms, changed the policy allowing 5 rooms for 55 plus patrons.
Yeah, that was,
That's really important, I think.
so both of those,
I like that.
I'm not sure what's happening with the government, but maybe they're moving ahead on this too to, like the EMS, but they're talking to us about maybe amalgamating different authorities. And we drafted a letter saying, no way, we don't wanna have that. You lose just like on the EMS, you lose the small town atmosphere, what we have going here. Also, we've got Lethbridge telling us what to do for.
I mean, why Lethbridge wouldn't really care about Milk River? I mean, that would just be way
Couldn't.
down the, I can't see that ever
So
being really successful.
So we drafted a letter and it's, I'm sure you saw it too, Joan. It
Yeah.
was just finished, finalized, and
Yeah,
it'll be
it
sent
was
back
good.
up there, and I sure hope they look at that, and that's something we need to be,
Well, I hope they haven't already made the decision
Yeah.
and they're asking us. Quite often, the government does that.
They do that a lot.
They do it a lot. They ask you your opinion, but they've already really decided, Bruce says this all the time at his job. They make a decision, but then they wanna know they give us your input. And then they don't listen to your input and they do exactly what
just like
they,
the EMS.
yeah.
It's just happened here with Alberta
Yeah.
mental health and addictions too.
Exactly, that's
Terrible.
how they do it, it's very annoying, you know? Why do they ask for input if they don't want it, you know?
And the other big thing was the vacant rooms. We have about 10 vacant rooms in Ridgeview Lodge and I think about 10 at Prairie Rose, I can't remember now. And so we're trying to fill them, so we've changed the age to 55 plus just for 5 rooms. And that's important because there are people that want them and we are always turning them down. And so now we're gonna allow at least 5 rooms can go there.
Chris said they've actually turned a lot of people down who wanted to come, but they
Didn't meet
weren't
the
the right
criteria.
age, you know?
Because of strict guidelines.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to help the seniors and they're not quite seniors yet, but we wanna fill the rooms because that gives us revenue.
Absolutely, fill them.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make that work. So just so everyone knows that you will post that sometime, I guess, Curtis. But for future references, for people you talk to.
Does Ridge Country Housing have like a developed advertisement that they're utilizing to advertise this that we could just share?
I think they do on their website. I'm not sure if it's developed yet, but it will be out. He did talk about that.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to report?
Just briefly, had a meeting with the XA last Wednesday. This past Saturday, they held their annual quilt show. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because I got called to go teach a course down in Mezenat on Saturday. But from what I understand, it went very well. They had enough entries. They used both buildings. They filled both buildings with quilts. So a lot of people participated in it. And from what I understand, had a lot of people attended. They took all the COVID precautions and did very well with that. The only other thing is, Sherilyn Jorgensen, she organized it. She needs to have a pat on the back. She did an amazing job. I mean, she does everything that she does, but to organize this is a lot of hours, and she did an amazing job doing that. So, and then the only other thing is, they're also been asked to host the annual regional Access Society meeting, which will be tomorrow night down at their facility. So we're not sure because of COVID how many people are coming. They're limiting Access Societies to just 2 people. So usually they just open up to whoever wants to come from the Access Societies and stuff. So, but hopefully we get a good turnout tomorrow night. But that's all I have.
Okay, good. Anyone else have anything? Councilor
Yeah.
Foss, go ahead.
One just quick note, the Historical Society's AGM is on Friday this week. For anyone that's interested in attending, it's 6:30, the doors open. They'll be selling memberships and then 7 p.m. the business part of the AGM begins.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And I forgot to mention, during the discussion of Remembrance Day, typically the Historical Society hosts a luncheon for the veterans, and I think at this point the plan is not to host it. It's complexity of doing that, so anyway, that's it for that.
Okay, good to know. I had one more thing too. At 3:00 today, I got an email from our MLA, Grant Hunter, and he's gonna have some 45 minutes for us to meet with him, for Curtis and I to meet with him on Friday. Any items anyone can think of they want me to bring up when we meet with him? We're gonna talk about enhanced policing, of course, and I'm sure we should bring up this letter from Rich Country Housing to him too. Do you want me to bring up EMS to him?
Mayor.
I think I should. Counselor Capeters?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to talk to him about that, our ambulance system as well as our first responder calls where our fire department members are going to assist the paramedics on calls that are not compensated for.
Okay, we brought that up before, but we can bring it up again.
So what time are you meeting with him?
I don't have the email in front of me, but I wanna say it's 11:30 to 12:15 or.
Okay, there's that heliport, is that heliport thing still happening at one?
Yes.
But that's just a Zoom, is that a
Yes.
Zoom?
Yeah, it's a Zoom.
Okay.
9
This
to
is-
10, Curtis?
I'm just trying to check.
Oh, that's great. Actually.
Okay, we'll bring that up again.
Okay.
Counselor
1 o'clock,
Capeters?
1 to 2:30, it's the heliport meeting.
And,
10:30 to 11:15, Mayor DePew.
10:30, 11:15.
and you're gonna send us out a link for that heliport meeting?
There's a link on the invite that
Oh,
you
is
should
there?
have
Okay,
received.
I haven't looked at that. Okay, I just wanna make sure.
Get anyone to think of anything else they wanna talk to him about? If you do, email me it. It just was, like the spur of the minute. I talked to Curtis and we both couldn't think of anything really offhand. I'm sure we have things to talk to him about. So I have those 4 items. We'll make an agenda out to give to him when we get there and then talk about them.
Good.
So if you can think of anything, please email me. Okay, so we need a motion to accept committee reports.
I'll move.
Counselor Harker, she's our standby here. All in favor? Okay, we have correspondence in front of us. Is there anything anyone wants to talk about? If not, we need a motion to accept correspondence.
Move that.
Counselor Fromm? And all in favor? Okay. Need a motion for adjournment. No closed session, motion for adjournment.
I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, go for it, John.
Counselor Harker again, all in favor?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Are we off?